Welcome and Happy New Year to the Tuesday, January 6, 2026 regular meeting of the Ann Arbor Planning Commission. For detailed information on meeting procedures, please review the full printed meeting agenda, which is provided at each end of the dais. Manager Leonard, would you please call the roll?
Of course. Commissioner White?
Here.
Commissioner Abrams?
Here.
Commissioner Hammerschmidt?
Here.
Commissioner Lee?
Here.
Commissioner Dish?
Here.
Commissioner Mills?
Here.
Commissioner Weatherby?
Here.
Commissioner Adams? Here. Commissioner Norton?
Here.
You are all starting out 2026 with perfect attendance.
Thank you, Manager Leonard. May I have a motion to approve the agenda? Moved by Commissioner Mills, seconded by Commissioner Lee. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the December 16th, 2025 meeting? Moved by Commissioner Lee, seconded by Commissioner Weatherby. Is there any discussion of the minutes? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Next up are reports to the Planning Commission and written communication. If Councilmember Dish is ready, we will start with Councilmember Dish. But if Councilmember Dish is not ready,
Swallowed. Yes, totally ready.
Thank you.
We last night on the consent agenda was approval for the address
2857 Packard Road.
2857 Packard Road, a long in the process project, and that will be achieved as 35 single-family homes of smaller square footage than many things that are going up in Ann Arbor, and all of them will be all electric. So thank you to staff for making that provision. And I don't remember anything else that we did that was, no, because we didn't. Thank you.
No report from the planning manager.
Okay. Thank you, Planning Manager Leonard. Do other commissioner officers or committee liaisons have anything to report tonight? All right. Seeing none, just for those who are present here in chambers, as well as those who are watching along online, written communications to the Planning Commission were included in today's packet, which is available in Legistar. I believe you go to a2gov.legistar.com, and then you'll go over to Planning Commission under Boards and Commission, and then pick today's meeting, and then navigate down to item on the agenda that says various communications, and then you can click in to see what was attached to our agenda. That brings us to item number 6, which is an opportunity for individuals to speak for up to 3 minutes. We'll first hear from those who are present, then remote participants. To speak remotely, press star 9 if on phone, or use the raise hand feature if on Zoom. For phone access, please dial 877-853-5247 and enter meeting ID 977-6634-1226. City staff will identify callers by the last 3 digits of their phone number or by name if on Zoom. You'll hear an announcement when it's your turn to speak. Please move to a quiet area and mute any background noise. For all participants, please state your name and address at the beginning of your comments. And I think because we don't have a public hearing, this is the opportunity if you want to speak on the comp plan for item number 11. We will have a second public comment period, but it'll be after that agenda item. So, is there anyone present in chambers who would like to address the commission at this time?
Good evening. My name is Jeff Crockett, and I live at 506 East Kingsley. As you know, I have previously advocated for improving historic district language in the CLUP, but tonight I'm speaking about CLUP risk factors, which have not been acknowledged. I asked ChatGPT to identify these risks and how increasing density will increase the cost of living. It identified the following risk factors. Number one, increased land value and speculation. Rezoning for higher density can immediately increase land values, as property owners can potentially build more units on the same lot. This increases the initial cost for new developments, which often results in higher final housing costs. Number two, higher development costs. Developers cite significant soft costs, including city fees, utility upgrades, and specialized engineering that can reach hundreds of thousands of dollars for even small-scale projects like fourplexes. High property taxes further add to the long-term cost of these units. Continued utility cost increases is a real concern. Did you know the combined water, sewer, and stormwater utility charges have risen by nearly 70% over the last decade in Ann Arbor due to compounding yearly increases and additional infrastructure cost components? How will the club impact the rapidly increasing utility rates? We need to know this. The club is silent on this threat. Upward pressure on rents. Some research suggests that in high-demand markets, increasing density can drive rents up in the long term, potentially by as much as 21% for every increase in density. Amazing. Short-term gentrification. In the short run, new developments are often market rate or luxury units aimed at high-income households or wealthy students, which can exacerbate gentrification and raise the average cost of living in previously affordable neighborhoods. Finally, it has been reported that higher density can lead to higher auto insurance rates. Not been discussed. Why? According to ChatGPT, more crashes as a result of more cars, intersections, and complex traffic patterns, lower speeds, but more frequent fender benders, more parking damage and theft, higher claim activity because of tighter parking, more insured drivers, and higher repair costs. A mitigating factor suggested by some density enthusiasts is newer residents will have fewer cars. Perhaps, but there still will be more cars, leading inevitably to more traffic congestion, another risk ignored by the club. The location of bike lanes need to be addressed in the club. It is a land use. Until the club acknowledges, specifies, and addresses the potential risk factors involved with the plan should not be sent to City Council. Thanks for your consideration.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in chambers who'd like to address the commission?
Hi, Adam Juskevich here, Las Vegas Drive in the 4th Ward. I just want to note that none of what I say was written by ChatGPT. Actually, as a software engineer, I avoid the use of generative AI as a rule. First of all, my friend Alex Lowe was going to make a public comment tonight supporting the plan and requesting that you impose strict height minimums across the city. But he asked me to pass along that, quote, "A migraine fortunately means that you don't have to listen to him," unquote. Well, we finally reached the end of the required 63-day review period. After nearly 3 years of extended, robust public engagement, it feels good to reach that milestone. Many of the people I've seen in this room, and also seen at the library at other meetings discussing this plan over that period, and I want to thank everyone who's come out to make their voices heard. It's been a great learning experience listening to all of you and to the different perspectives everyone brings. All of us have our own voice, though, and my opinion as a 30-year Ann Arborite is worth the same as someone who's lived here for only a few years, just as my privilege to be a homeowner does not make my opinion more important than someone who rents their home. Like many of my friends, I feel that several aspects of this plan do not go far enough, but I recognize and accept the compromises that this body as well as City Council have made based on feedback they received. You've got a tough job distilling the divided opinions of this community into something that's coherent. Despite these concessions, I believe this is a good document, and certainly a massive improvement over the broken status quo that has created our housing crisis. This plan clearly supports the vision you set out to achieve nearly 3 years ago. But what really counts is the follow-through. This plan is a framework that will be filled in with the details of zoning. Zoning is where real change begins, and you will shape how our city will grow over the next quarter century. I look forward to participating in those discussions as well and expect to see many familiar faces in this room over the next few months and years. And I'm very excited to see how my neighborhood will grow and improve over the next couple decades. Thank you for all you do for the future of our city and for graciously listening to all of us.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is John Godfrey. I live at 2809 Brockman, and I'm sorry to disappoint that utopic pay-in that just preceded me. This draft plan rests on two core assertions. The first assertion, which is unsupported by evidence, is that buyer-driven demand, particularly from commuters, has created an urgent need for large amounts of new market-rate housing. The second assertion is speculative at best, that an unfettered increase in market-rate housing will protect the affordability of existing housing and eventually slow rising housing costs. This outdated supply-side pro-development approach, which actually has roots in a 1991 Heritage Foundation report, threatens further destabilizing Ann Arbor's housing market. As evidence in support of its goals, the plan relies on a small number of studies in the nation's largest metropolitan areas, places that bear little resemblance to Ann Arbor, while ignoring current national and local realities. The plan assumes that new market-rate housing will divert higher-income buyers away from older, less expensive homes. But land in Ann Arbor is limited, and new market-rate construction will occur where land is cheapest, most often in well-located, low- and moderate-income neighborhoods. It also assumes that demolishing affordable single-family houses by right and replacing them with triplexes will produce affordability, despite testimony from local builders that the math simply does not work. Citywide upzoning clears the way for investor-driven redevelopment and will accelerate displacement and gentrification that is already underway. Ann Arbor is being sold as an attractive investment for profiteering speculators and affluent non-resident elites. The plan ignores fundamental market shifts. Rising income inequality and investor ownership now shape housing outcomes. Investors account for up to a third of home purchases nationwide, and local reporting shows wealthy non-residents buying new downtown condos as second and third homes. As a recent New York Times letter noted, capital now has moved into housing the way it always does, fast, aggressively, and without sentiment. Whose interests does this plan serve? City officials have made their choice. The plan prioritizes building and capital over residents who have had little role in shaping its goals and whose questions and concerns for their neighborhoods have too often been dismissed as misinformation. Ann Arbor deserves a forward-thinking, resident-centered plan that embraces change with realistic strategies for urgently needed housing affordability and environmental protection. This plan falls far short of these goals that have the public at its heart, which it should have. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in chambers who'd like to address the commission?
Hi, my name is Chuck Ream. I live on Packard Street. I'm running for City Council in the 3rd Ward. It is breathtaking to me how you can do so much good work on the comprehensive plan and then screw it up so totally by providing no new protection for trees in this document. This is Tree City. You simply can't tell. The reason I came here tonight was to ask you not to tell council to reduce setbacks, since that will pressure them to do that, pressure them to do the wrong thing, and then they're going to lose so big in August. Ann Arbor voters don't want the extreme in providing mid-level housing. They just want enough mid-level housing. They don't want their neighborhoods wrecked. They don't want especially front setbacks changed in neighborhoods, residential neighborhoods. And if you push to the extreme, you'll end up getting nothing, because this whole thing will bomb right out because your elected officials will be very different. This is my speech to City Council last night. I can just share a few little moments. There's no balance in this plan because you promise to review and rewrite the zoning code to remove barriers to housing. Now, that is quite a threat if you happen to be a tree. Trees are a barrier, and they are ignored in this plan. This plan is about extraction, the extraction of billions of dollars from Ann Arbor by big developers as we become fully gentrified. Prices will only go up, and the wonder of Ann Arbor that we love so much will be monetized and sold off until it is degraded and diminished. I'm in favor of all the flexibility in rules that could give us more mid-level housing, right up until we start taking down the trees. The most valuable preserved land is that land that is on each individual lot. That's where the character of Ann Arbor lives. That's where the trees of Ann Arbor live. You take away those setbacks in residential, you are wrecking the character of our city. Ann Arbor has no modern tree protection ordinance. About a dozen cities in the U.S. have a tree protection ordinance that protects trees on private property that should have been done prior to the CLUP, and it hasn't been done. The setbacks decision on setbacks will determine whether the CLUP has any integrity or not. If you go ahead and mess with these setbacks, then it becomes a hoax, a stinking land grab cloaked in values. Virtue signaling is what's going on, and a majority of voters will vote against it.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Midget. I only became aware just sometime today that Brent Leonard published a summary of the comments that went into from us, and I noticed that he never even touched on the comments that I made. I think they're rather important because they're civil rights violations. So this was from the executive summary, page 7, under goals, strategies, and future land use, housing and neighborhoods. And the plan says, to address the housing shortage, greater density is called for with an emphasis on promoting missing middle housing with universal design. Universal design focuses on equitable use, flexibility, and simplicity without adaptation. Universal design is not accessible design. Accessibility laws are addressed by the ADA, Americans with Disability Act, the UBC, or the IBC, the International Building Code, and the FHA, the Fair Housing Act. The ADA, Americans with Disability Act, is a civil rights law ensuring equal opportunities and prohibiting discrimination against people with disabilities in employment, transportation, public accommodations, and government services. The Comprehensive Land Use Plan, Draft 3, intentionally excludes accessible design, as it is never mentioned in the plan, and also, I asked Michelle Bennett once, challenged her on it, and she said, yes, it was deliberately excluded. The Comprehensive Land Use Plan codifies discriminatory zoning in Ann Arbor housing in violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act. The Comprehensive Land Use Plan, as it stands now, will violate the ADA civil rights law in Ann Arbor because the elderly, the disabled, and the mobility challenged were not involved in the planning process that's actually written into the act. The intentional exclusion of ADA compliance in housing exposes the city to liability should a complaint be filed with ADA.gov. The Department of Justice's Civil Rights Division website allows anyone to submit a report alleging discrimination or lack of accessibility due to a disability. The FHA Fair Housing Act requires that buildings with 4 or more dwelling units built after 1991, that would be a quadruplex, must have at least one elevator for accessibility and accessible paths of travel for egress. The plan should have required proactive design, build accessibility into new projects from the start. This is accessible by default. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Tom Stolberg, 1202 Trigger Street in the heart of Lower Town. I want to talk about the document that was referenced by Donna just now, the propagandist press release that most people don't know was attached to the agenda, and you have to get it online. Top concerns for the review period comments. It's one page, front and back, 6 items. We've distilled down 960 comments submitted by 734 unique names into 6 bullet points. And they're very vague. Some are deliberately misleading. One thing I'd like to ask this body to do, and I did it in the portal 2 meetings ago, is the people whose land is called residential or transition, which is a non-existent category on a future land use map, should not be left in limbo. Assign them to residential and do that tonight. This work is not complete if you do not give them a land use category. Let's talk about in here, you say explore the impacts of short-term rentals. We have explored the impact of short-term rentals. We did a report, we did a study several years ago, we passed legislation. This plan is woefully inadequate on short-term rental. Just include the plan before. You should have updated the plan. Take the time now. Pause the plan and update that plan for short-term rentals, because this comprehensive land use plan has the possibility of really opening the floodgates to short-term rentals. And what they do is they take away housing from long-term occupants, be they renters or owners. We also talk about, in here, Brett Leonard writes that how many meetings there were. Well, he also talks about meetings where council members held meetings. Maybe Brett Leonard was at some of those. But we know that at some of those meetings from our council members and from Brett Leonard, there was just obfuscation, deflection, and straight outright deceit, as there was on a trifold flyer from my council member. One of the issues there, and it's right here, is this, again, if this plan is so wonderful, let's be honest and open and not vague about heights. Yes, you can achieve a 3-story building right now. The limits are 30 feet, and we know where the height is measured at the midpoint of the roof line. We know that the way it's written now, we've changed it from 30 feet to 3 stories. Yes, you can, it's not the same 3 stories there. You can have a much taller building at 3 stories. We know the products out there that the builders in this town are already building that are significantly higher. At the last meeting, Chair Weich asked about 39 feet versus 30 feet because there's a 30% height bonus. Well, right now you can achieve a 39-foot building, 3 stories, but you have to give a sustainability or affordability bonus. In the comprehensive plan, we give away that bonus. We're moving the opposite direction of sustainability and affordable. We're giving it away for free instead of getting more.
Thank you, Mr. Stolberg.
Hello,
Hello.
everyone. I'm Irma Meyer, Brockman Boulevard. As we enter the final months of work on Ann Arbor's proposed land use plan, what we are confronting sadly is a missed opportunity. This top-down plan claims virtuous goals, but its blunt approach, citywide upzoning and deference to development interests, undermines them. Ann Arbor's fortunate to have residents eager to help shape the city's future. Unfortunately, officials have sidelined them from the beginning when this plan and planning process were conceived. Grand Rapids has offered a better locally grounded model. Its master planning process unfolded over 4 years, built from the beginning with sustained inclusive public engagement and granular neighborhood-level analysis. Before setting the goals for the new plan, Grand Rapids reviewed its prior plan with residents, holding more than 90 substantive meetings with hundreds of participants to identify what worked and where to improve. Ann Arbor did not. Grand Rapids' plan was carefully shaped by data, assessment of existing neighborhood-level conditions and lived experience. It actively engaged neighborhood associations. Ann Arbor did not. It had a much larger and far more inclusive steering committee of residents that played an active role throughout the process. Ann Arbor did not. It trained facilitators to make connections with every neighborhood. Ann Arbor did not. It was built from the contributions of nearly 4,800 residents from every ward, and at its core are 14 area-specific plans tailored to the distinct needs of neighborhoods. It is a ground-level plan. Ann Arbor's plan instead takes the penthouse view, distant from neighborhood context and lived realities. The planning staff's two-page memo responding to 960 written comments is breathtaking in its superficiality. In claiming to summarize the public's top concerns, it suppresses and misrepresents substantive, well-developed critiques and recommendations from residents. The memo is not a responsible and substantive response to public input, but more an exercise in self-justification, one in which the conclusion appears to be that the public just doesn't get it. Grand Rapids demonstrates what socially responsible, community-driven planning can achieve. By contrast, Ann Arbor's plan and planning process have been a disservice to residents and to the city's stated goals for housing affordability and responsible development environmentally. Ann Arbor's future must be shaped with, not imposed upon, its most important stakeholders, its residents.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Weiss, Planning Commission. Hope everyone had a good holiday. Ken Garber, 28 Haverhill Court. I focused all my comp plan comments on sustainability. In November, I submitted a 3,000-word comp plan comment in the form of 31 carefully considered page edits on sustainability with explanations and footnotes. Commissioner Mills read them, thank you, and referred them to OSI, which apparently rejected them all. No recommended changes, nothing. Not my section in where we are today on per capita emissions, not the goal to eliminate those emissions by 2050, not mentioning passive house design and net zero energy building code standards, not limits on new fossil fuel infrastructure, not reducing the 52 times the plan mentions resilience or resilient by even one time, not noting that circular economy does not solve consumption, not the natural features elements, not even the courtesy of a point-by-point reply as far as I know, although maybe Mr. Leonard and Ms. Bennett have more than they put into the staff memo. Look, I'm not a sustainability professional, and I'm not so arrogant as to think I was going to get many changes, but I didn't expect to go 0 for 31. But I'll keep poking because there's a problem. How can a plan for rapid growth be sustainable? I'm not saying don't plan for that growth. Let's definitely do that. But let's be honest about the implications. The plan as written asks us to believe that growth and sustainability are compatible, or as the plan puts it, that growth can be decoupled from the consumption of finite resources. But the plan offers no evidence for this and no mechanism other than circular economy, which is mostly wishful thinking. My edits and comments tried to correct this failure. The question of sustainable growth is not just a local one. It's at the heart of the global climate crisis. It's a huge question that you cannot resolve tonight at this table. This will take a larger community discussion, which could have happened with this plan but didn't. To me, this plan is based on a dubious assumption, a seductive one, but still very questionable. That is that we can keep our lifestyles and our economic systems and we can make them sustainable. Staff believes this is true. I do not. That's the core disagreement or dispute. But I don't blame you for deferring to the experts. I'm not one. And plus, we've run out of time for this plan. Hopefully not for the planet. I expect the planet will grind on, but maybe I've planted at least a seed of doubt about the sustainability elements of this plan.
Thank you, Mr. Garber. Is there anyone else in chambers that would like to address the commission at this time?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Joe Zilka, 1920 Woodbury Drive. So Ann Arbor is facing pressures that are not hypothetical. I believe they're already here. The University of Michigan and Michigan Medicine continue to expand. Our economy is attracting more workers and students every single year. And of course, our housing supply has not kept pace. That is the mismatch. This mismatch is the root cause of our housing and affordability crisis, limiting options for first-time buyers and causing more renters to become rent burdened. What I do like about the plan is the compromises that it did end up offering both to renters and homeowners, and especially where it directs the major growth. By focusing additional height and density downtown and along major transit corridors like Washtenaw Ave, Briarwood Mall, Stadium Jackson, Southview, the plan aligns land use with transportation and infrastructure. These are already corridors that are served by high-density or high-frequency bus lines. I live at one on Woodbury Drive. And through future transit investments through the University of Michigan's bus system and the AAATA. That's especially important now since the state of Michigan's new budget, shockingly, significantly increased support for public transit, reversing years of decline. With the rides, planned expansions, and the university's bus system, we're uniquely in Ann Arbor positioned to support a more transit-oriented pattern of growth, reducing traffic, accidents, and fatalities, but only if we allow housing where transit can actually work. I do want to address concerns about neighborhood change. This plan, largely as a compromise to homeowners, preserves existing residential areas, allowing incremental options like duplexes and triplexes. I believe originally quadplexes and even taller structures were a part of earlier iterations of the plan, but were removed. Building housing is the fastest way that the city can generate new tax revenue via our affordable housing millage that we passed in 2020. We're already seeing that revenue being put in at 2050 Commerce Boulevard, at Dunbar Tower in Carytown, and soon the new development at Blake Transit Center, with more affordable projects in the pipeline. Others have raised environmental concerns, but concentrating housing near jobs, campus, and transit reduces sprawl, which is the largest contributor to climate change, lowers vehicle miles traveled, and supports our climate goals more effectively than pushing development outward into the surrounding townships. I urge Planning Commission to move the comprehensive plan forward to City Council. Thank you so much for your time and your service.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in chambers who would like to address the commission at this time?
I'm Tricia Hackney. I live at the Crossings in Crossings condominiums in Ward 1. I just feel like the whole conversation has been missing 80% of the story. And I said that a while ago, just like the book Abundance that you guys pushed to read I read that book and I was horrified. And I finished it and I said, we're in a lot more trouble than I ever thought. And the reason is the 2080. He focused on the 20%, ignored the 80%. And the 80% is the investors and the big business that is basically taking a coup over our neighborhoods. I object to the neighborhood part because that's where I live, and I won't be able, if I have to sell and forced out, I have no place else to go. If you're gonna go fishing, you have to think like a fish. If you're gonna deal with these investors, you've got to think like an investor. And I don't think how many of you have worked with investors or? Yeah, that makes sense because of what you do. And they're not, somebody said something about, well, these evil. They're not, no, they're just doing their job. And their job is to make mega money. Ann Arbor isn't doing their job, which is to balance that out. There is no balance in that. There is no pushback. It's here's the keys to the city, roll out the red carpet and do whatever you want. And all of these laws about 3 stories and all the technicalities, those are investor driven because they're not going to make any money if they can't build at least 3. And they know that. And it's going to be 904 Lincoln, rinse, repeat, over and over and over. And that is not going to be affordability and sustainability at all. it's going to be the elimination of affordable housing and people like me.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in chambers who'd like to address the commission at this time? Seeing none. Mr. Leonard, do we have online participants?
We do, Chair Witch.
Thank you.
One moment.
I'm sorry, Manager Leonard.
You call me what you like.
Oh.
Gladys, you can address the Planning Commission for up to 3 minutes.
Good evening and Happy New Year. This is Yurko Hadis calling from the First Ward. Thank you for all of your tireless work and incredible dedication. I think the draft plan represents a meaningful step in the right direction for our city. Tonight, I'd like to reiterate a suggestion for a small change that would have a big impact. Please consider renaming the future land use category that is currently labeled residential to a name that reflects form rather than use. Perhaps something like low-rise, periphery, or equivalent. As written, all of the land use categories envision a mix of both residential and non-residential uses. Given that reality, labeling the lowest density category as residential is confusing and implicitly supports the misguided notion that only a certain type of residence and a certain type of resident are worthy of being deemed real neighbors living in real neighborhoods. I understand that at this stage in the process, a change like this might seem unreasonable, but it's a fairly simple fix, and the impact would be far-reaching. Names matter, language shapes assumptions. The basic nomenclature that you adopt in the club sets the tone for policy discussions for decades to come. By choosing language that reflects the reality that all neighborhoods are residential and that all residents matter, you have an opportunity to better align the plan's terminology with its vision. Thank you again for your ongoing leadership and for considering this suggestion.
Thank you.
Brad Pritz, you can unmute and address the Planning Commission for up to 3 minutes.
Thank you. Let me express my thanks to the Planning Commission, the staff, and the consulting team for the work done on this plan. It's a big job, very difficult, and I guess of those, a special thank you to the Planning Commission who come here as volunteers and do this out of a love and hope for our city. So thank you. That said, I'm going to make some critiques. I just am reading a book on college towns in general, and it makes an interesting point that a city council member of one of the other college towns, not here, said, it's like being in a city with 55,000 mayors. And being as I'm one of those people telling you what to do, I guess I'm guilty as charged. I'm among those who say pause the plan. I'm going to boil that down to 2 reasons. First, in my written comments submitted earlier, I called out a number of areas where our comprehensive land use plan doesn't yet comply with state law, particularly getting further input and detail. We need to get this right. It's important. And then secondly, a more subtle point, we need a better process of effectively engaging people, because without their engagement and involvement, every step of the way of implementation is going to be difficult. There's a musical written some years ago by Stephen Schwartz, better known for his work on Wicked and Godspell. He has a piece with a wonderful line. There is no journey gone so far, you cannot stop and change direction. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah Bassioni, you can address the Planning Commission for up to 3 minutes.
Hi, good evening. My name is Sarah Bassioni. Hello, Commission and City staff. I want to wish everyone a Happy New Year, and thank you once again for your time tonight and all of the months of work that you've been putting in. I currently live in Ward 5 with my spouse. I couldn't be there tonight, but I appreciate that I can come in this way. I've also previously rented in Ann Arbor, and I speak once again in support of the Comprehensive Land Use Plan. I'm trying to keep my comment tonight brief, and as I was thinking about it, I was thinking about how, in some ways, I do wish that the comprehensive plan were more radical in the vision that it puts forth. I wish it were more radical in how we think about mixed-use housing and where it is in our city. I wish it were more radical in thinking about how we can welcome the 80,000 plus commuters to be empowered to be able to live in Ann Arbor if they want to. People like our nurses and our teachers and our sanitation workers and the arborists who take care of the trees that we all love so dearly. I wish the plan were more radical in infusing things like universal design, which is accessible by definition, into every decision, so I don't have to worry if my parents can walk safely to the bus and if I can walk safely to the bus in 40 years. I wish. But with all of those things and thoughts, I fundamentally support the Comprehensive Land Use Plan in its current form. I am deeply grateful for the work that has gone into it. I'm deeply grateful for all of your patience and curiosity, and I look forward to this comprehensive plan helping to shape an Ann Arbor that I'm excited to live in now for the next 10 years, the next 20 years, the next 50 years. An Ann Arbor that is expansive and exciting and whimsical and warm and just a rich tapestry of community for both my current neighbors and new neighbors too. Thank you so much for your time, and I wish you all a lovely evening.
Thank you.
Caller with the phone number ending with 411, you can press *6 to unmute and address the Planning Commission for up to 3 minutes.
Commissioners, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, and I had to walk away from my desk to where I had written remarks, but I'm going to do the best I can in terms of winging it. This is James Demore. I'm a former planning commissioner with the city a little while back. I sent some comments regarding the portal, but specifically it's regarding really dropping the language in terms of references to the natural features land use plan. If we're going to incorporate all our previous plans and combining it, we need to emphasize our natural features. We cannot just simply ignore them, and there's no reference to that, which is longstanding the natural features protections in the current document. Point 1. Point 2, and that is regarding reference language to the Greenbelt millage, which correctly states in the document that refers to preservation of open space and natural systems outside of the city. However, 1/3 of the millage is still dedicated to important land acquisitions into the city. I'm going to call you to, Mr. Chairman, to you to task and Commissioner Adams for something you said at the last meeting, complaining about trees and how they're an impediment to density. I was quite struck by that remark. I don't quite have it in front of me, but let's, moving forward, however far we're going to grow, we have to incorporate and put in protections to continue protecting our natural systems and features. The plan needs to grow not just for humanity, but for the flora and fauna, and really for the community benefit as a whole. One final comment I'm going to make, and that is that I do appreciate, and I'm wearing my hat now as a member of CARD, that there is reference to the Gelman plume and the historical use that has become associated with it, and I'm glad the city's doing that. I say, so did you know? I do hope that when we finally get the zoning map, I'm not sure exactly in terms of the metrics, in terms of what's going to be put in terms of the zoning, but if we are going to grow and have higher forms of density, we're probably doing impacts, particularly in the 5th ward of the city, and that's something to watch. With that, I guess I'm going to say, if you're going to grow, but protect our trees, protect our natural systems, and let's protect the last remaining good open spaces of the city. We have to have balance in terms of our growth, and right now our natural systems are not, protecting our natural systems not happening, as the events of 2857 Packard does show in terms of what happened last night. All right, guys, thanks for putting up with my rambling, and thanks for considering my remarks, and you have a good evening.
Thank you.
Ross Smith, you can unmute and address the Planning Commission for up to 3 minutes.
Hello. Happy New Year. First, thank you for all the work you've put into the comprehensive plan. I'm sure some of you expressed earlier, like, I wish this was more radical. Like, this is likely to be the high watermark for what you can get. So, shoot for the moon. But fundamentally, support it. And the density that'll keep hundreds of acres of trees out in the township from being torn down for condos that will, houses and things that will increase traffic, pollution, and all of that. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
No more hands raised, Chair White.
Thank you, Manager Leonard. With that, I will close this public comment section. That brings us to agenda item number 7, communications from the Planning Commission. Are there any communications from the Commission? Seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 8, public hearing scheduled for the next business meeting. Manager Leonard.
We have one new public hearing scheduled for the January 21st, 2026 Planning Commission meeting. It is the Woodbury Gardens rezoning at 1310 Wisteria and the 1310 Wisteria site plan for City Council approval. Woodbury Gardens proposes to rezone the existing 41-acre development that includes Astor Drive, Wisteria Drive, and Woodbury Drive from R3 multiple family, R4 multiple family, and PL public land districts to TC1 transit corridor with conditions capping the building height. The site plan would partially redevelop one parcel to construct 2 7-story buildings containing 342 dwelling units, a 5-level parking garage. An administrative land transfer is required and will be considered separately. Additionally, we anticipate another public comment item on that agenda, 495 Earhart Road, St. Paul Lutheran School site plan for City Planning Commission approval. This is a proposal to add a 22,582 square foot building addition for a library, reconstruct and reconfigure the parking lot, and upgrade the stormwater detention. No increase in the number of students is expected as a result of this work. It is zoned R1B.
Thank you, Manager Leonard. That brings us to agenda item number 9, unfinished business. There is none. Agenda item 10A, regular business. There is none. And now to agenda item 11A, other business. The comprehensive plan review period discussion. This will be started with a staff presentation by Principal Planner Michelle Bennett, who I believe is joining us online this evening or via Zoom.
Good evening. Can you all hear me?
We can.
Excellent. Well, Happy New Year, all. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person, but I am happy to go over the 3 things that are in your packet this evening regarding the draft plan. One that has already been referred to is a summary of the 960 comments. So staff did read every one of them and provided the top 6 that were, often repeated. Those are the most frequent comments that were received. Then after reviewing those, we took a look in our plan to see where we felt like those were addressed. And so that is what that memo is for. And that is the comments that are in your packet. The comments that are in your packet are from December 11th to January 5th, but the memo is in reference to comments that have been received since October 21st when the review period began. So I guess I'll leave that open if you have any questions about that or comments. Otherwise, the other document is going over your edits, which I think will take a little bit more time and also have some discussion. So are there...
Yeah, we'll see if the table have any comments or discussion about the memo. We'll start with that if that's all right. So I'll look to my left since I favor my right. And now I'll look to my right. All right, thank you for the memo, staff. And then we will now review your memo dated January 6th, which has yellow and green highlights to capture the edits from the November 18th meeting and the December 16th meeting. Do you have a proposal, Planner Bennett, for how you want us to discuss that, or do you want us to do it in the fashion that we have done in the past?
I would propose doing how we have been in the past, where all of those were made available to you. So you are free to bring up any questions or comments that you have that are in the packet, but that I would sort of just direct you to some of the newer ones that came about as a result of the last meeting, of the December 16th meeting.
Okay.
Some of them came from staff that I would like to share with the Planning Commission.
Okay. And then can you, for our edification and the public's, just remind us where we are in the process today? So should we accept the edits that we made on the 16th and we propose new edits tonight, what will happen tomorrow or in the future?
Sure. What we will do is keep this running list, this compilation of edits going. So like you said, if you have more edits tonight, we will add it to this list. We already have a meeting scheduled with our consultants for this week. So we will share and discuss these edits with them. They will determine about how long they think it will take. We have some idea, given how long it has taken them in the past to do our edits. This one is a bit more straightforward than the first two rounds. So we're anticipating that it will take much of this month. The exact date is to be determined, but we are currently planning then to return a draft to you for a public hearing in the second half of February. I'm sorry, Brett, if you remember the exact date, I know you had sent it to me, but the second meeting in February would be the scheduled public hearing.
I think that'd be
February 16th or 18th.
18th.
Yeah.
Okay. And then at that meeting, at the 18th, that would be the draft that's been edited by the consultants, and pending approval from this body would be recommended to be forwarded to council for its review and approval.
Correct. So that it will be the fourth draft that should incorporate all of the edits from the list that are in your packet tonight. And then your job at the public hearing, of course, there will be comment from the residents, but then you would be either recommending approval to to city council.
Okay. Or a fifth draft if we felt that that was necessary.
Sure.
Happy New Year. Okay, so do you want to start with your the staff comments that are in your January 6th memo, or would you like the table to share their thoughts first? What would you prefer?
I'd be happy to start by directing you to some of the staff comments. So I will share my screen if that's easiest, and then you all can see the notes I'm taking and possibly correct me if I'm not getting the wording correct. So let me share here. Are you all able to see this memo?
Yes.
Okay, so we can go back to discussion, but the comments that staff provided would, I guess, rightfully be under the staff supported section. So let me bring us down to that. Or did I already pass it? Okay, here we go. So these are fairly minor, but I just wanted to point them out because we did not discuss them, nor did they come from you at the last meeting. So some of these are really just streamlining some of the wording. So page 60 under goal 1.1, it's just to make the language clearer. They asked to edit from change dimensional standards to start that sentence. I don't know Yeah, we only have one screen, so we can't pull up the draft at the same time, but if you can pull them up on your own screens. So there's a minor edit to goal 1.1. And then on that same spread right across,
I'm sorry, Planner Bennett, can you pause for just 1 second? Commissioner Abrams, did you have a question about locating it in the draft?
Nope, just took me a minute.
Okay. All right, great. I'm sorry. You can continue, Planner Bennett.
Yes, please interrupt me because I can only see now very, very tiny faces and cannot see or hear.
It looks like Commissioner Abrams would like to address it.
Sorry, just to clarify, so currently it says allow for more density with dimensional standards in all residential districts, et cetera, et cetera. And the proposal is to say change dimensional standards to, what would be the next word there?
I think the idea is still to allow the density. I think that the staff member thought that the language would be clearer to start this way, but if you're saying that maybe it seems like it's cutting out the density part,
well,
that could still be there.
Oh, I see. So it would be change dimensional standards to allow for more density in all residential districts. Got it. Sorry,
so
a little slow on the
Mhm.
uptake. Thank you.
No problem.
Anyone else on this change? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Next is page 61. That should be on the same spread. We have a call-out box with the MAP zoning tools. MAP is the Michigan Association of Planning, and they have 15 zoning tools there, and there was a recommendation to call out the ones that we already do. So the city already follows many of these, and it would be another way to give the city credit for ongoing efforts. So that would either be indicated maybe by italicizing them or bolding them in some way to indicate what we're already doing.
Okay.
Okay. Then in the fourth row down on page 64, there was actually an edit, I believe, that came from the Planning Commission, but staff had a question, so this would be clarifying with the Planning Commission. It says under Strategy 2.1, add a third paragraph that offers community land trusts as an approach to income-eligible affordable housing and homeownership that preserves affordability. I think that this comment or a similar comment has come up a few times, and there are references in these other strategies, 1.1 and 1.5 and 2.1. So I suppose we're just asking for clarification. Do we want to just keep it at 2.1, or do these other areas seem like places we should also put them?
I'm sorry, Commissioner Dish.
Thank you. I looked at this and I thought that it would be possible to insert it in 1.2. So there's a sentence that says, in addition to streamlining the development review process, the city needs to be willing to use available financial and other incentives to stimulate this type of construction. And then I would add, and to support the efforts of nonprofit housing developers. And then in 1.5, it would be possible to insert nonprofit before mission-driven, unless that makes it sound like the only mission-driven things are nonprofit, which might or might not be true. I don't even know. And then in 2.1, work with nonprofits and the county. So just 3 little additions, which I've sent actually to Ms. Bennett. So if it's, do you want me to, you don't want me to say that again? It's boring.
No, I think we caught it.
Yeah.
Any other comments for this section? All right.
Okay. On page 108, and honestly on several pages, but I just wanted to draw your attention to this because if we agree to this change, I will make sure they're changed in all of the places. But there's reference to a future land use plan, and The edit is just to remain consistent throughout and call them future land use goals or strategies, map, or recommendation. This terminology might just get confusing with zoning plan, and zoning plan is a term I believe we need to use from the Michigan Planning Enabling Act, and that the rationale is this sounds like there's a plan within a plan, but the comp plan is the long-term vision. It's not the regulatory document, and so there's just a request to change that language.
I see nodding heads, but no hands raised, so we're good.
Okay, great. And then again, another language change. So let's see, this is page 110. We use the word restrictions in the last paragraph, but that terminology sounds as if we are already talking about regulations. And again, in this plan, we are talking more at a higher level. So it asks to edit to change to say resulted in refined or more detailed recommendations.
Okay. Some crinkly eyes, but we'll see if those result in comments. Just giving everybody a chance to catch the comment. Commissioner Dish, I can't see you anymore. Okay. No, it's fine. I just can't see you, so I don't know what's happening. You are not sleeping. Commissioner Hammerschmidt is leaning forward, which... That is okay. Okay. All right. Commissioner Norton, you look like you're reading, and I do not want to move ahead of you if you are still reading. It's fine. I just want to make sure. Okay, it looks like there is support.
Okay, and then on page 116, I believe this is the spread that says residential when we're talking and describing our land use categories. Under secondary use, I believe it says small apartments or condo buildings, something like that. And just a staff member pointing out that condo is not a type of structure. It's an ownership type.
Yep.
And so we don't want to confuse people about that. A single family home could be a condo. Mm-hmm. So they're just basically asking for us to clarify that we could add a parenthetical or we could change the wording if we'd like.
Commissioner
Abrams? If you agree with that, staff can figure that out.
I'd propose we just delete it so the secondary use would just say small apartment building.
Or multi.
Unless the intention there was that condo would indicate something else other than...
Or multifamily, because is it supposed to be rental versus ownership? That's how I would read it.
That apartment building is rental by nature?
Potentially, I don't know.
So small
multifamily.
Multi-unit building?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Commissioner Norton.
Yeah, I was going to say apartment suggests to me rental building. I think that's what I think about, and guess most people do. So multifamily building would probably be a better fix than to just drop condo altogether.
Okay. Commissioner Mills.
That's fine with me. That makes sense. I would just say we need to make sure we pick that up in the picture as well, because that's just to the right of it. There's a graphic of what we mean that says small apartment building.
Okay. Mr. Leonard, you look like you wanted to say something. Great. I misread you.
Is that something, Chair? Is that something, again, that you could go through and just look to for consistency's sake? I'm looking at Michelle remotely on the screen.
She's picking up.
I'm not sure I have the edit. The edit is to remove the term condo.
Yeah, so
and
on
then
page...
replace both of those with multifamily?
Yes.
Or, So remove condo and small apartment building.
No, leave... I'm sorry. What did you all agree? I heard small
multi-family buildings.
Yes, small multi-family buildings. Okay, I think we have like 4 nods out of 9. Can I get maybe 5 or 6? Okay, I have 6, 7, 8, 9. Great. Do you have the edit, Planner Bennett?
I believe so.
Great.
Okay. The other edit from staff was the future land use methodology in the zoning plan comes sort of towards the end of chapter 5, and there was a request to move that up as a way to provide more context for the reader so that they can understand, how we got where we are before we go into the detail about the land use categories.
And is there a proposed location?
No, there wasn't one. It just said move it to above. So I would be happy to give a page number 2 interface when that time comes.
So we start this section on spread 110-111, which starts with the future land use map, and then it ends. One before that. Sorry, 108-109, and then it ends again with the land use methodology and zoning plan. So the proposal then would be to move it to the spread immediately after 109 so that the methodology precedes the map. Let me just do that, and then I'll call on everybody. Can I just get a quick go, no go on moving it there, and then we can start to talk. All right, so we have a no, and we have a Norton. All right, so we'll start with Commissioner Norton, then Abrams, and then we'll give you where to put this, Planner Bennett.
It would make sense to me to move the methodology toward the front, because now you're explaining, here's how we took what we were before and what were the considerations we're adding to get to the new plan, and then to finish it with the zoning plan, which is it's the link under the MZA that's supposed to link the plan to what the zoning scheme will eventually be. So that makes sense for that piece to be at the end. So I would split that section.
I'm sorry, so I've been talking about a spread of 2 pages. Can you give me a little clarity? I need the specificity of what you want to split.
I would split the section that's currently labeled future land use methodology and zoning plan into 2 subsections. One would be future land use methodology.
Okay.
And the other would be zoning plan.
Okay.
I would move the future land use methodology up to the front, and I haven't studied this closely enough to say exactly where, but somewhere to kick off this section.
Okay.
And then have the zoning plan be placed at the end.
And what content is going in the new split?
Well, the first 2 paragraphs and the call out seem to me to be explaining how the methodology.
But there's not a right side on the spread. It's just the title and the 2 paragraphs and the call out.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, all right. Before Mills, Abrams, did you want to comment? But I think Commissioner Mills is to Commissioner Norton, so it's really.
Do you want to go first? Or I largely agree. I just would say, so I think the first spread in this chapter would be future land use approach, which is what it currently is on 108, 109. Then we would go from approach to methodology.
Okay.
And I think actually it's not so clean to separate out methodology and zoning plan, but I would trust Planner Bennett and the consultants to figure out how to parse those 2 things.
Okay, so you're not.
Methodology would be the stuff that feeds in, and the zoning plan would be the supporting material that comes at the end.
Okay.
I don't know.
We'll go to Commissioner Mills, and then Manager Leonard had his hand up.
Yeah, I was similarly thinking that it's not just one. I like that suggestion. I think it's also okay the way it is. The people who want the details can get the details later. But if we are to do what Commissioner Norton suggested, I think it's sort of the content on I trust staff, but I think it's the content on 124 and 126 and 127, because that actually is shaping. I think that it's not necessarily about zoning. That's important to the methodology, where I feel like what's on 125 is the zoning plan, and then the spread on 128 and 129 is the thing that would stay at the end.
Okay. I think I got that, and I just want to hold this before we add anything to it, and then check in with Planner Bennett. But, Mr. Leonard.
Yeah, I was going to propose this, maybe keeping it as it is. People can find the information, it's in there. or I think it might be helpful for Michelle and the consultants to just try and order the way it is, which of those components you would like in which order, and then give us the ability to structure that.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that. So what I think I heard at the table, which there was support for, was leaving 108 and 109 in place, correct? Then what I heard was to split or create a new section called Future Land Use Methodology. Take the first two paragraphs that are currently on page 124 in the call out, combine that with the content for 126 and the map on 127, move that to immediately after the spread on 109, and then, make sure I got this, holding it all in my head, and then create or replace the title on 124 with zoning plan, bring up the translation from zoning to future land use, and leave the map on 125. That's what I heard. Is that what everybody else heard? Can we just get that first before we add anything to it? Come on. All right, Commissioner Abrams. No, sorry. Commissioner Norton, then Commissioner Abrams.
I'll reiterate. It was, as I think on it, it's confusing to see the outcome and then hear the methodology that you used to get to the outcome. I think it's much more helpful to present the methodology. So I'm largely in line with what you just restated. But I'm okay with the staff and the consultants figuring out in the details, making it work.
Okay.
So if they realize that means to tweak that a little bit, I'm fine with that. But I do very much like the idea of putting the methodology in front of the results.
Okay.
And then the zoning plan is the way that links it then to what will come after.
Great. At least Commissioner Weatherby clapped for my capturing of all of that. Commissioner Abrams.
Upon closer inspection, I think there's a simpler solution, so hopefully it's helpful, which is we just move 124 through 127, so two spreads, which are all talking about the method. They're all talking about how we're going to take what exists and what we understand about the near future and translate that into something. So that all goes after 109. So the only thing that stays here is 128, 129, which is articulating in greater detail the relationship between this new future land use and the existing. So to repeat, I'm just proposing we move 124 through 127 directly after 109.
Okay, so Planner Bennett has it in the notes. I can see it. And then Commissioner Norton, you originally proposed splitting those. What are your thoughts about Commissioner Abrams' revision?
That sounds reasonable. I would just ask the staff, as you work through this, just to make sure it makes sense when you make those changes.
Okay, Commissioner Lee.
Yeah, I would say that I wouldn't be so prescriptive as to say, like, hey, this paragraph goes there. I think this just requires a slight step back, look at the outline, and just make sure that the rationale follows. So I think I leave it to staff to kind of look through, okay, what's the logical flow? I largely agree with the concept of making sure that the methodology is prescribed first, and then it follows kind of the outcomes. But I really think, as opposed to just trying to wordsmith or reorder things right now, it just requires us to block it out, and we can defer to staff on that. So.
All right, let's check the table. Oh, sorry. Commissioner Hammersmith.
Just quickly, and I'm kind of agnostic on this, so whatever staff thinks, but I do like Commissioner Abrams' proposal. I would, if we go that route, I just want to point out that spread on 128, 129, which feels to me like more like it should be in some sort of appendix, honestly. But it is under that future land use methodology and zoning plan heading that that 2/3 of would be sort of moved up. So just to make sure if that kind of is separated from those other pages, that it makes sense wherever it lands.
Thank you. You're welcome. Planner Bennett, did you get what you needed?
You all can still see my screen.
Yes.
If I got the edit correct, then
I mean, you didn't get what I suggested, but this is what Commissioner Abrams suggested.
is this what we're going with?
It is.
Okay. Okay. And then this edit actually came from public comment. There were several comments about University of Michigan's Campus Plan 2050. They talk about an automated transit system. There was a note here that the university has issued an update to this, and that so now our map is out of date already. We haven't even adopted the plan yet. So I am going to double check that and try to get the most recent, line on a map of where this ATS is supposed to go.
Thank you for that.
So those were the staff-related ones that I wanted to go over with you. There's just a few things I want to touch base with you all, because I kept notes as to what came up during the last meeting. So I want to let you know of my progress on some of these. It came up in our last meeting, a comment from Mr. Hilton about our history section. I have reviewed his comment, I've reviewed what we've written, and I've also reached out to Dr. Countryman, who is a professor at University of Michigan, who's an expert in local history, also, actually. So I'm awaiting that response. And then similarly, there was some discussion about solar shading and the concern that residents have about that. Commissioner Mills and I have been in contact about that and are waiting for some responses from U of M researchers who did that analysis for us. And then there was some comments here about to please discuss our climate millage and the Bryant community decarbonization. So I added 2 paragraphs here which have been reviewed by OSI. The narrative has been reviewed. So I think those were the major requests from last time, some of which I'll still be working on, but hope to incorporate into the next draft for you all.
Thank you. So with that, are there specific things from the edits that need addressing from the table, or new edits that we need to capture from the table? And we can start on the left. Commissioner Weatherby. Okay. Commissioner Lee. Commissioner or Councilmember Dish.
Yeah, I have wait, now we're just talking about
Yes.
from the comments.
Yes.
Right, okay.
In addition to the document that we have in front of us.
Yes, okay, yeah, I'm good with the document.
Okay, that's fine.
With the Commissioner Edits document. So I'm just I had a few things from the engaged comments and a few things from the floor tonight. This is actually a question. There was a commenter who asked why the Ann Arbor Golf and Outing place, is not shown as a founding and formative years property. I think that would be on the timeline. Yeah. So I'm just asking, I'd never thought of it that way, but
This wasn't the comment that asked why I think we changed it to transition.
no, this isn't
This is
about how
different.
it's zoned. This is how, shouldn't it be represented on the historical timeline, I believe. And, yeah, I guess it wasn't necessarily clear.
So, of course, with the timeline, not every thing in the history of the city is on there by any stretch. Certainly, we can add items to that.
Mhm.
We've done our best to try and highlight some of the formative things. By no means do I think of that as a conclusive document that highlights every significant item. But as for that specific thing, I can't say that we considered it and decided not to include it versus anything.
Great. I feel like that's a very good. The commenter who raised the question did not make a case for why it merits it, and I am not a historian of Ann Arbor, so I can't make that case. And so I think
Okay.
I think golf is great. It's not something that I do, but there was a comment about our use of the term walk score. Is that a term that's commonly used? Yeah. Yeah. And I know, and there's measures of it, and I've looked it up, and I've been interested.
Yeah, and
I think it was that it was unreliable, though.
It was called an advertising metric or
like
tool.
a marketing tool for
and
real
I wondered
estate.
if that was really true, that that's the only context, because I feel like I've read it, like residents have said, oh yeah, I got to look at this, it's great. I don't know.
It may be because it's a subsidiary of Redfin, which is a company like Zillow, et cetera. And so they sort of invented it as a tool to market housing.
Yeah.
I mean, I will note that I don't profess that it is the ultimate way to measure those things, but it is a measurable, comparable metric for its imperfections. I will say that it has been utilized in policy decision making. For example, I don't know currently, but in past years, the Michigan State Housing Development Authority actually includes walk score as one of their criteria in considering low-income housing tax credits. So it has some.
So that's significant. I think if there is an opportunity, and Planner Bennett, you can use your discretion here to just put a parenthetical or a footnote to what Manager Leonard just shared. I think that might help to just note that while it may have been invented for the marketing of housing, it is also being used as a sort of reliable tool. Sorry. Commissioner Lee, then Commissioner Abrams.
Gotcha. I'm actually going to go back to Commissioner Dish's comment just regarding AAGO. I'm only
the golf outing?
Yeah,
Okay.
Ann Arbor Golf and Outing. So, I'm only mentioning that just I am a member there. I know Mr. Grigorka. He's a good guy. And as a part of the actual membership, we had to watch this historical video, and it is in all of our stuff it does say 1890. I think it was 1903 technically when the 40 acres was acquired, and there is this whole thing with stadium and how there's this weird sliver of triangle that we still own across the street that the members definitely won't sell. But all to say, I think the ask is on page 9, the map to be revised to a darker shade of green to be between the 1824 and 1939. I'm not sure that that's a terribly material ask one way or the other, but from a historic perspective, I can certainly get you some of the background. We just as members had to go through that whole video. There used to be a stream across hole 4, all kinds of neat little things, Yeah. So that's the ask. Page 9, specifically on that map, the founding formative years for the U of M AAGO to be shaded dark green as opposed to lighter green. Thank you.
Are you making that proposal?
I will, yes.
All right. How do we want to do this? Are we going to just accept it universally, or would we like to put it to a vote?
No, I'd like to vote on it.
Okay.
Hold
on for a second.
Sorry.
Let me just make sure we get the table. Go ahead, Manager Leonard, and then you can go.
I want to clarify the request is that. So this data here is largely pulled from assessing data, which suggests to me that our assessing data doesn't show that building was built within that time frame, or it doesn't have data there. That's probably why it didn't show up there. This is largely the physical development of the city. It's a lot of housing start data.
Yeah.
So that's probably why it falls in that category. I'm guessing that there is not an assessing building date that might be the same as when the land was put to that purpose.
Sure. Got it.
But I just want to be clear that I'm happy to look into that. But I would suggest it's probably not a good exercise for us to. I don't know how accurate all of that assessing data is, but that is the best source that we have to show the development of the city. So I just want to contextualize that might be why it's shown differently there.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
So are you still good with your proposal to make the change?
Yeah, sure.
All right, excellent. I don't think we're going to do, I don't think we need to do a second. So let's just take it as that's the proposal, and then we'll go down the table to see what the thoughts are. We're not accepting it. We're just going to discuss it now.
I'm sorry. I've got a little bit of a head cold, and I'm having a hard time keeping up tonight. What are you proposing again?
It's on the screen, right in front of you. It's on the right column.
Change.
It's on the screen?
It is. Planner Bennett is making updates on her document in front of us.
Oh, that. No, I thought you meant the actual.
No. Yeah, it's right up on the big screen, too. You're welcome.
So it's not calling it out, it's just clarifying the age of the property?
Yes.
Right. That's simply it.
That's it.
This is not
Okay.
particularly material. I'm not
Yep.
asking for the club to be called out in the plan.
Nope.
It's just change that shading to accurately reflect the
The
historical
time
nature.
label, yes.
Okay.
And then Manager Linnett's comment was the reason why it probably didn't get the
Yep.
shading in the first
G2.
place is because the data in the assessor's offices may be out of date. And so that is the reason. There was not some anti-golf agenda that is now being unmantled by Commissioner Lee and his membership.
Got it.
All right, is everybody okay then?
Yes.
Except for Commissioner Norton. Go ahead.
I have no objection to.
Oh, okay.
To
All
a
right.
factual correction, if that's what this amounts to.
That's essentially it.
Okay. Do we need to, can we move on from this? Everybody okay with that one? All right,
then I-
back to
one more thing.
Councilmember Dish. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, can I talk about walk score before we move on?
Yes,
Oh, sure.
Two things. One is I just want to point out that when the first time we mentioned walk score in the map on page 59, and we're actually raising it to say that places are dangerous or unpleasant to walk. In other words, we're not using it to justify. So I think the comment was saying, well, walk score doesn't account for things like bad sidewalks, or that it might be an inflated thing. And I think we're actually using it to argue that we need better walkability. But I also was thinking that I did not know that it was a Redfin product. And I'm wondering, since it's in our glossary, and we write a whole paragraph about it on page 167, if we might want to mention that. I got, it's footnoted, but does anyone who knows more about it, would that be something worth doing?
It's just what came up when I Googled it. Is that it is a subsidiary of Redfin. So
I guess what I'm saying is, like, unlike something like vehicle miles traveled or Unified Development Code, which are just, these are sector-specific terminology to describe certain relationships between, like, metrics or objective measurements or, I don't know, regulatory frameworks or something. This sounds like a branded score. This sounds like something like LEED, right? Like, you would always say that LEED was developed by the Green Building Council, blah, blah, blah. It's a program.
So is your recommendation just to note?
I'm not making a big deal of it. I'm just wondering if
Make sure
anybody
the
else
glossary
says.
is accurately representing where it comes from.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes.
But that it's also being utilized as a measurement in housing in Michigan.
Yes, I'm not
That was
opposed.
it.
I'm not opposed
Okay.
to that, and I also just wanted, to the person who wrote the comment, just point out that we are using it to argue for better walkability, not as a way to justify, not as a way to, like, pat ourselves on the back for having great walkability.
Okay.
That's good.
Any objection? Okay. Councilmember Dish.
Okay.
You are back on.
And so this is my last thing. There are so many things about the university in these comments, and some of them are utopian. But, and I think I will send to Mr. Mahoney the suspension bridge idea. He should make that his next miracle. But, I would appreciate such a bridge. But I wonder if we've done enough to acknowledge the effect of the student population on home prices. And I believe we put a sentence on page 54. The student population impacts both the rental and for sale market, as some for sale properties are bought and converted to student housing, especially close to the university. I think that's completely right, and I'm glad we have that sentence in there. I read at one point, because it was getting posted online, an article by a person named Thomas Ladley that was actually about how student populations affect a city's poverty rate and can affect how much public funding they get. That was its main thrust. But along the way of making that argument, and Ann Arbor was part of this study, actually, Ladley just emphasizes that college undergraduates residing in off-campus housing have discernible effects on rental rate increases and can accelerate the pace of rental rate increase because they have one-year leases. So you get so many more chances to raise the rent. And they are willing to live under conditions that many of us no longer want to, but with numerous roommates. And so there is an economic effect of that. And I do not want to push this point hard because we are late in a process and we have a very good document in front of us. But it is a theme in the comments that Ann Arbor faces, there's a force in Ann Arbor's housing market that is in other college towns. I don't know that it affects us more different. I don't know that it's any different in Evanston, Illinois than it is here. But, another small place where a school could have more weight than in a bigger town. But it's just that it's nice that there's a piece of academic research that can validate people's experience. And I'm not saying that this gives a direction that we are supposed to follow. It would be being a little bit more generous in our acknowledging the fact of students' effect on the price of housing here, or students residing in both single-family homes near the university and in large, things that are built for them. So I'm just putting it on the table. I am not mounting a military campaign. Yes, Mr. Leonard.
Okay.
Oops, I'm not the chair of this meeting.
Apparently. Mr. Leonard.
So, as a reminder, one of the documents to this is the housing appendix, where we really dove into that data. There is a section there that is specific about University of Michigan school enrollment. I honestly don't think that covers the whole breadth of how the university impacts our housing market, but I think you are talking about students specifically. It does conclude about how that market does drive up prices, and it limits the supply for non-student residents of our city. So I would just suggest maybe one way to that research, if desire is with the commission, we could reference that to bolster that section a little bit more. I will say, I agree with you when you read through the comments. There was a lot of comments about just the city's relationship with the university, and I think I just wanted to name, I think, as you saw in those comments, there's a lot of frustration by that, and a lot of desire for us to either impose criteria or I think a lot of times just to ask. And I want to be clear that just because this plan isn't specific in that regard, the city and university partner together in a lot of realms. This document is specific about our land use policies and some of the decisions that are within our framework. So I just want to acknowledge, I think the tension, there was a lot of comments that beyond that about the relationship between the city and the university.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Dish. Are there other commissioners who have comments? Yes. Commissioner Weatherby.
I know you gave me an opportunity earlier and I didn't take it, but I'm taking it now.
You sure are.
The comment that came up, and I think we've discussed this in the past, is the labeling of residential.
Yes.
And we've discussed it, and I think we kind of just left it. And I don't know if there's any appetite for discussing that again or any possibility, but I don't like the term residential because it does seem to say only people, that there won't be residences in transition zone. There will only be transition. And residents will be in residential. And I think it does indicate something that we don't want to indicate. And I think, honestly, is kind of confusing and also scares people.
Yeah. Commissioner Mills.
That was on my list of things that I thought too. And particularly, I think that helps make transition make sense. Like, this is either between, I don't know if that means renaming hub to high rise. But then transition is the transition between low rise and high rise. But the low rise districts we're imagining are primarily residential, but even they are not exclusively residential. Like, that's what we are calling for. So I think that is truer to what this actually is and actually makes transition clearer. Yeah. But I guess I mixed two things in there. I started out by saying, I'm with you on residential, renaming it, and I think I would do low rise. But then I added in, do we still like hub, or that get a different name too?
Okay, I'll hold all of that for just a second because Planner Bennett has had her hand up for quite a while, but I haven't looked forward on the screen, and Vice Chair Abrams drew my attention. Here we are. To you, Planner Bennett.
Thank you. All of these categories had different names. They used to be called low-rise residential, mid-rise transition, high-rise hub, and I don't remember if it was Planning Commission or Council or maybe staff asked for those to be removed. So we did start there, and it was found that was confusing. So I'm just laying that out as a reminder or history of we have gone through this circle before with the labeling.
And here we are again. We are consistent in that regard. I'd like to weigh in, but Commissioner Adams shall go before me.
Maybe the fly in the ointment tonight. This is the last meeting that I sort of envision this as fine tuning, and I'm pretty opposed to anything that gets even close to something requiring major tear up. And that kind of change at this stage is going to introduce all kinds of risk of error, because we cross-reference to those names throughout. We cross-reference to them on websites and FAQs, and I don't want to ask the consultants to do that at this point, and I don't think it's value add. I think that's too strong. I think that we could have a robust debate about the right terminology to avoid. And Commissioner Weatherby, I actually agree that the thing that you're pointing out, that transition is a tough thing for people to grasp, maybe, and how that fits into the two categories. Fully agree with that. What I've struggled with for several months is, how do I fix that? I don't have a clean, good set of answers. But on a process point, I'm not going to support anything tonight that, unless we find, if somebody points out a major error or an issue that requires that kind of tear up. But I'm not convinced that we get a lot of juice out of that. I think that would just create a lot of risk of error.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. Other commissioners on the point of renaming residential to something else? We'll just stay here. All right, Commissioner Abrams and then Lee.
I would appreciate maybe hearing from Planner Bennett or Mr. Leonard whether that would be a tear up or like a Control F sub edit.
I'll start. Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong. I agree with Commissioner Adams that I think there is a risk. I mean, you're talking about map labels. You're talking about the text of the plan. I appreciate the perspective of it. I would also suggest that the label doesn't change any of the foundational components of it, the policy decisions that you're putting in place for that. So I'm not the consultant. I can't speak to it, but my recommendation would be that we've got a lot of work ahead of us on implementing the policies of it. The label of that is likely less important than the details that we are proposing to accomplish within that district.
All right, thank you, Manager Linnet. Before we go to you, Commissioner Norton, Planner Bennett, would you like to weigh in or?
I would agree with Brett, Mr. Leonard, Manager Leonard.
What shall we call him tonight?
And just that you do get a second shot at renaming all of these when we get to the actual zoning districts. These are really meant to be kind of broad categories, right? And so if we feel like they're not, I think they are reflective of the major changes that we're asking for, and that we can get more specific in the naming with zoning, if that helps.
But they wouldn't change, just to clarify your point of a second option, that would be, it would still live on with the current categories in the comp plan until it was replaced, updated, or removed.
Correct.
Okay. All right. She just muted. All right. It's like, I'm done with this.
I said correct. Yes,
No,
you're
I didn't hear you. I don't think any of us did. Commissioner Norton, and then, no, Commissioner Lee. I think it was first, and then Commissioner Norton.
Oh, sure.
Sorry.
I'll make this pretty brief. I'm more on Commissioner Adams' side of things here. It's a little late in the game to make that wholesale. Just the cross references. I mean, there's an entire category, right? Like in the chapter that we just looked at, literally called Resi, and I'm a little hesitant, I suppose. So I wouldn't be supportive of wholesale changes. I see the rationale. I actually follow the logic, right? Like if that's called Resi, then transition is what, not Resi? Like, right? There's this kind of immediate, bundling or categorical, placements of things. But just the document's in a good place, unless there's something, again, categorically incorrect about this. I'm hesitant to make that. I don't know if that's the right terminology, but all that to say, I'm on Commissioner Adams' side of things here.
And Resi is short for residential.
Yes.
Even shorter.
All right. Commissioner Norton.
I was just going to point out that there are fairly coherent descriptions of each of the three categories in the plan. I think no matter what label you choose, unless you replicate that whole lengthy description, you're going to miss something. So it's almost, I'm not so concerned about, with deference to, or with acknowledging Mr. Adams' concerns, I'm not so worried about the extra work of cross-checking, but I think it would be, no matter what label we come up with, someone will shoot at it because it's really not capturing everything that it's trying to go with. So I think these labels as they are do a credible job of capturing the core of what the idea is, and the more in-depth description provides the nuance that I think everybody's trying to get to. So it would be it would be kind of a useless errand to try and come up with a better label that someone isn't going to shoot at.
Okay.
So I understand the spirit of what the suggestion was, but I think the definitions actually do a pretty good job of explaining what's going on. I think we can stick with that.
All right. Manager Leonard, and then I'll jump in if that's okay, and then we'll conclude with you, Commissioner Weatherby.
Perhaps one more piece to bolster not changing it is that it is descriptive. That future land use category is envisioned to be largely residential, not exclusively. We have to wait to talk about incorporating some commercial, but but the other categories are envisioned to be very broad, flexible in use and development typology. And that same full cadre of uses, I don't think is described in the residential land use category. So another reason that it's not that residential is not included in the other districts. They absolutely are. It is more so that the other uses incorporated in the hub and the transition are not likely to be included in the residential areas in the same way.
All right. I have, from the very first comment that I've made about this plan, rejected this label of residential. And I have been consistent on this point. And we did make some movement because we talked about them as residential neighborhoods. So I was grateful that we removed neighborhoods, because wherever people live is a neighborhood, not just in these residential places. I understand the place that we find ourselves at this juncture, but considering edits is our task. This is our document. We are responsible for this document. And if we believe as a commission that this label is not accurate, then as a commission, we should communicate to those that we have entrusted to help carry out our vision, to carry out that vision. And I think when you look through the comments, the public look at residential as being exclusive, single family, 1 to 2 stories. You can just read through the comments and they'll say things like, you are going to destroy my residential neighborhood, over and over and over and over again. And I think it's not entirely true that it's only going to be residential, because commercial will also be available in this district now going forward, or this category. So there, again, this is our document, and I'm counting who has spoken so far, and there are 3 no's, there's 3 yeses, and 3 we haven't heard from. So if, with the permission of Commissioner Weatherby, I'd like to ask Commissioners Dish, Hammerschmidt, and Abrams to weigh in, just so that we can see where we are at the table. You all can just go ahead one after another, if you will, please.
Maybe part of why I haven't weighed in is that I don't know exactly what we're talking about changing to. So are we just saying change or no change, or are we saying change from residential to something specific? What?
Well,
I don't know. So I think that's why I'm kind of
we
waiting
started
to see
with
how this shakes out.
This isn't a good descriptor, and then Commissioner Mills gave us a low-rise transition and then high-rise. So we would actually, if we took that up, though she didn't propose that, we'd be looking at 2 changes as a suggestion. But that's as far as we've gotten to the table. Commissioner Adams made a strong case for how this would. What was your term? A tear-up, that was it. Oh, no, it's okay, because we all just agree with each other at the table all of the time, so.
I think although, I think I'm going to come down in favor of leaving it as is. And the reason is because while it's true that neighborhood commercial corner store is listed here, it is 99% residential, and at the risk of causing alarm and confusion, I think it makes sense to leave it.
Thank you.
I would agree. And I liked Planner Bennett's sort of commentary on that we can't always change things in zoning. But I want to say I did find the argument from the speaker very persuasive. But I do sort of feel like at this time, it's sort of like that's what's known. Let's just leave it and move on.
All right. Councilmember Dish. You don't get the last word because Commissioner Weatherby will come after you, so there's no pressure.
Excellent. Yes, I always feel under great pressure speaking, as you can tell. Yeah, I mean, I just had a long interchange on email with a resident who was expressing exactly this thing. Oh, so you mean the other ones aren't residential? And I really was resonating when Yurka was speaking about that. At the same time, I was thinking, yes, that's kind of where we started. We started with low-rise residential, and I thought, well, it makes a difference to take the residential out of that and just call it low-rise. But again, I think I sort of have Commissioner Abrams' problem because I don't think high-rise is a good substitute for hub, because I think hub's doing more than that. And then it makes it feel like we have sort of a weird binary opposition and then a funny thing in between. And so for lack of a better term, and for the fact that we are really at the end of a very long road, I don't feel urgent about making this change, but I would not be, I wouldn't also fight back hard if people felt strongly.
So you are persuadable. All right.
Now there's pressure on me.
Commissioner Weatherby, you have the last word.
So I do think that one of the things I am responding to is that the comments that show up show that people don't understand and that it is confusing. Because in this list of, and I did read all the comments, and it was pretty clear. I also think that the transition is going to be most likely primarily residential in nature. We're not going from residential to only office buildings. And so there's a confusion there of like transition is probably mostly going to be apartment buildings and houses and things like R4C is now or whatever the, and so to kind of indicate, and I have to say, because I will be in a transition neighborhood or a transition area, and it does feel a little, I mean, some of this is my personal feeling is that, yeah, it feels a little weird to be like, oh, well, you're not in residential. Well, I'm living there. And so I think, there is some of that. And I just looked and there are like 106 times that the word residential comes up, but very few of those are actually capital R residential in the terminology. So I don't actually think it would be ripping up the document if we could find a good substitute. I think that's going to be the tricky part, is the good substitute. And now is the time. I mean, we can say, well, now is not the time, but now is the time. Maybe a better time would have been before now, but it's going to be a worse time after.
Wait,
now.
didn't we get a quote from someone about now is the time that we can make these changes? So great.
So.
All right. By my whip count, we're now at 5-4, so that would not be a prevailing vote should we take it. What I would like to ask the table's indulgence is Planner Bennett has it on her spreadsheet, and if she would be willing to advance at least a summary of this discussion to the consultants to see if they have a recommendation for us. If they have a recommendation, we can entertain the recommendation when the fourth draft returns. If they do not, then it will stay as it is. So we're not actually proposing anything, but she would just bring this conversation to the consultants and then see what they say. Commissioner Adams, being the strong oppositional voice, what say you?
I think that makes the tear-out problem even worse.
Oh, man, I thought this was a compromise.
It is. It's a compromise that I think I win by the passage of time.
Wait a minute.
So it's not really a compromise. It just means that by default, I'm fine with it. I'm not going to rehash the argument, though.
No. This is good. I actually think this is good for the public to say, look, we're actually still at this late stage looking at substantive changes. We have not decided to just stop and send this along. We're having these conversations. So I appreciate your robust defense to leave it as it is. Anything else? Anything else, Commissioner Weatherby? All right, who else has, because that was going to be my comment tonight. What other comments do we have from the table? Oh, sorry, I forgot you were there. I was like, that voice. I was like, who is that?
Comments are first.
Yes, go ahead, Planner Bennett.
Can I confirm that the action then for staff is to bring this to the consultant, see if there's a recommendation, or are we saying
yes,
don't
that
do
was still my recommendation, and there was no opposition from Commissioner Adams. He, in fact, believes that that will support his position and leave it in place.
Okay.
And he is probably right. All right. In fact, Commissioner Mills will have the last word.
Well,
on this.
Yeah, this is on this. And then I do have one other thing that I want to bring up. I just don't want them to spend very much time on it, particularly because I was on your side of this argument.
I was on your side.
And I think at that stage, I really don't want to introduce error. Just so please, I would minimize the amount of.
I concur. I trust your ability to say they had a discussion about this. The concern was that it would do a significant tear up, introduce errors, and create complexity. Do you have a recommendation? And so that's a one sentence.
Yep.
If we can offer that, I think that feels good. Go ahead, Commissioner Adams.
I do want to acknowledge what Commissioner Weatherby is, I think, got her finger on, which is that I've struggled for months with how the public has consumed the categories. And I don't know how to fix it. I really wish I did. I think for me, it's been less about the labels and more about the length of the document. Have we made it impenetrable by, which is, I'm thinking about all night tonight as we're adding more little tweaks and little things. And I wonder sometimes whether a 10-page document would have been more digestible to the public. And maybe if it isn't the labels, it's the overall just impenetrability of a document this big. But I don't know how to fix it. It is a real problem. And I'll just leave it at that.
Back to you, Commissioner Mills.
I actually think it's a great idea to ask the consultants to come back with a 10-page.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Dish.
I'm sorry. Shut up, Commissioner. And just my 2 cents worth, in the world that I live in, I'm drawn to maps all the time. I think a lot of people are. That's the thing that's very easy. So I don't know how long, I think that if you've got a 10-page document, but it's got a map in it, that's what people are going to look at. So anyway. The thing there were a number of comments that were specifically about the lack of wetlands, just the mention of it at all. And a couple of them, I were making the case for wetlands. We don't mention it very often. There's specific comments about the places that it could be added on 86, 87, or 98. And it's just adding it when we talk about woodlands or water courses, a recognition somewhere that wetlands matter. And I'm not even a wetlands person, to be really honest, but I think that they play an important ecological function, and it's weird that we don't mention them. And that's one of I saw that in multiple comments. So, including one from Mr. Garber. This was in the list of things that including in a natural features plan, but I think that just literally a mention, and I know that this moves in the face of adding more words, is against that. So,
okay, is there support at the table? Looking that way, yes. Looking this way, yes. We'll leave Commissioner Adams to decide and ruminate. Okay, I think we can add it.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
One of the comments.
I'm sorry, we're done with wetlands?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're on to a new thing?
Yes.
Okay.
This is a question, though, for staff. My read of ADA and universal accessibility, just because we don't mention ADA in my mind doesn't mean that it's not rules that need to be complied with.
Yeah, it's the law, right?
Exactly. So I want to just make sure that is my assumption about that we don't have to reiterate all of the laws that we plan to follow in our plan is true. Because if not, then it makes sense to mention it. But
that's true. But ADA, I want to be clear, ADA is a federal statute. I actually don't know that the city is an enforcing agency of ADA, but the law, it's still the law as a federal agency. So yes, even though it's not mentioned in here, it does not mean it doesn't apply any longer or that we no longer desire it to apply.
And Manager Leonard, it is also true that the legal team will review this draft before it's forwarded, or excuse me, either simultaneously when it's forwarded to council or prior to that forward.
That's correct.
Great. So that would be another place to raise that.
Thank you.
Did you want our lawyer to take a look at it? Because I think the Planning Commission has a lawyer.
Oh.
No, we do. I think we have a lawyer. I think I met with that lawyer.
From my perspective, there's a number of other things, fire code, all of those things.
Sure. So
that we do have a role in that we don't mention here, and it doesn't mean that we're not going to enforce the fire code. And so I just wanted to make sure that I understood ADA compliance appropriately.
So Planner Bennett, I think the feedback then is, can we review? Just have legal take a look at it to say if laws that are not referenced need to be referenced or whatever recommendation they have for us with regard to that, because I feel like this is a fairly regulated process and is fairly consistent. So, okay. Yep, Commissioner Lee.
I could just say anytime that we submit for permits on anything, it gets flagged for turning radius, handlebars 34.5 inches. So like they absolutely do a great job of making sure that we have access. So yeah, ADA is definitely enforced at the building level, I think, at the building code level. So yeah, but make sure to have legal take a look at it. So.
Great. Commissioner Norton, you are not this commission's lawyer, but do you have any thoughts that you want to share with us here? Because I know you've worked on this at the state level.
Yeah, I would say have the city's council review it, but the statement that the plan doesn't obviate, the statement can't obviate federal law. The plan cannot, we can't announce through the plan, we're not going to follow federal law. And our failure to acknowledge that we're going to follow federal law doesn't mean we're stating we're not going to follow federal law.
Okay.
So I'm trying to understand the dialogue that was going on because I wasn't part of that meeting, but I have no concerns that somehow in the plan we're saying we're not going to follow federal law.
Great. Did you have a separate comment?
I did have a separate topic.
Let me check with Commissioner Mills and then I'll come back to you. She's done. Right back to you. You may.
I'm sorry. Because that was actually going to be one of my questions. And I think
the ADA
question,
okay.
Because his is separate, right?
It is.
Okay. So the thing in this comment, and I don't know if it was the same public commenter that wrote in on the database, but I think we're covered in terms of like building code, because this ADA is not like a code that you enforce. Like building code is a code, but I think she wrote in here something about, where to go? The comprehensive land use plan enables potential violations of the ADA civil rights law in Ann Arbor by excluding the elderly, the disabled, and the mobility challenged in the planning process, which seems like a really strong statement that I don't see how that's accurate. I mean, that I would just want to make sure with like the legal team that I don't know enough about ADA or the whatever it entails, but I don't think we're doing this. But these statements just feel, I read those and I was shocked. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Weatherby.
Just a little, and this is just quick reading, but also universal design incorporates all of those things and is actually stronger, more stringent than our ADA regulations. So I don't, it's still smart to go through, but it's I don't see anywhere where what we've said is like, in conflict. I mean, it's sort of like at base, of course, we're going to do ADA, but even beyond that, we can do accessible or universal design for everyone, regardless of their situation.
I'm sorry, I'm just gonna, this feels like it's going beyond just like the design of the buildings though, into like the process and like how this has been like whatevered.
Yep.
So I don't know, like that's what I would just want to make sure we didn't do anything to violate anything.
Okay, we're going to stay here. Councilmember Dish.
No, I just have a quick question. In the stakeholder meetings with the consultants, I would imagine that some of the advocacy groups that work on that issue were spoken to at that stage.
Okay.
Affirmative nod.
Yes, we have an affirmative nod from Manager Leonard.
Yes, that was also, we also sought some of that experience and expertise on the steering committee as well.
Yep. All right, back to you, Commissioner Norton.
I want to bring up another topic that we've heard a number of complaints about consistently is the issue of short-term rentals. I know that I've talked about that with other commissioners informally, and I've talked about it with staff, but I'm not sure that we've really had that dialogue at the table on the record. My understanding from talking to staff, short-term rentals are mentioned 4 times in the plan as I count them. Twice with regard specifically to transition zones. Once to acknowledge that short-term rentals take housing off the market, and then another stating that the city should further study the implications of short-term rentals. We're hearing consistently that something that we're doing in this plan is either completely ignoring or opening the door for short-term rentals in a way that could be destructive. And so I wanted to give Michelle or Planner Bennett or Manager Leonard the ability on the record to respond. Why is what is stated in the plan adequate to recognize that we need to deal with short-term rentals? And do we need to say more in the plan to address that issue?
Can I just clarify for a second? The concerns that I heard were it was transition is going to permit short-term rentals in a way that they previously were prohibited in spaces, or at least that was what I remember from the December 16th meeting. But are you stepping away from that and just asking a more broad question around short-term rentals vis-a-vis the plan?
I'm trying to ask the broader question.
Okay,
well, I guess the one question is, why is it only mentioned with regard to transition? Is there some reason for that?
Okay.
And then more broadly, are we adequately responding to those concerns? It's a concern of mine, too, that short-term rentals are taking housing off of the market. And so I think that's a worthwhile thing to talk about. And we haven't really had discussed it at this table during our deliberations, so I wanted to put it on the table.
Okay. But for staff to weigh in, not for the table to have the discussion.
Both would be great. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Mr. Leonard, or Manager Leonard.
You saw a lot of comments about short-term rentals. I think the way you articulated that, I think the plan, I think part of those comments are coming from the fact that the plan recognizes it as an issue for our community, but it doesn't propose a solution. It says that we need to study this issue. I think it recognizes that it's impactful for our community. That is very consistent with our community dialogue on all of our regulatory discussions regarding short-term rental from their initiation to today. There's been conflict in our community over short-term rentals. So what I see in those comments as far as what the plan is not being effective, I am presuming from a lot of those comments that numerous people are not comfortable with us identifying that as an area that we have to wrestle with. They would like it to be a stronger policy statement that says we should do X, Y, or Z in order to address this community issue. I think specifically the reason you mentioned why is it in transition, part of the reason of that is that it was explicitly called out in the city council ask to the planning commission of items to consider specifically about that. And this is going to have to be something that I think this body and the council is going to have to consider as we start trying to consolidate districts, because now with our cadre of districts, it is more choices to put short-term rentals in districts and omit them from districts. As we start consolidating districts to try to simplify the framework, as the council's asked you to do, that is going to make, I think, some regulatory decisions in that study challenging. We're going to have to figure out, when we're talking about transition zones that are intended to accommodate everything from residential to industrial uses, why now have we identified that short-term rentals are appropriate for those commercial categories that are inclusive in that district, but not residential? How are we going to codify those decisions going forward? So I think that short of this plan declaring that we should go further or we should pull back, whatever it is, I think that there are going to be, I think the majority of comments are going to be frustrated, probably, that we are saying, recognizing we have to study it versus saying get rid of them or prohibit them. I think the plan adequately says this is an issue that we have to wrestle with. And if you are concerned about it, you would be more comfortable if the Planning Commission is saying, we're going to do all we can to ban these from our community. And that's not what the plan says. It says that this is a complex issue that we're going to have to figure out. Does that help at all?
Mm-hmm. Planner Bennett, did you want to weigh in? Okay. Next up is Commissioner Abrams, then Councilmember Dish, and then back to Commissioner Norton.
I just wanted to maybe build on Manager Leonard's comment and say that just because we're identifying it as complex, it doesn't mean that we can't figure it out. And there's also nothing in the plan that where we're like tying our hands so that we somehow like have to allow them where we don't want them. I think we have agreed that we have acknowledged that it is a complex thing and that it has an impact on, that it takes housing off the market, as you're saying, Commissioner Norton, and that it's going to be something we have to contend with. So I just want to make it, it doesn't mean we can't thread the needle. We're just going to have to do it carefully. But maybe also on the record, I just wanted to confirm that there's nothing in here. Currently, non-owner occupied short-term rentals are not allowed in residential districts, and there is nothing in this plan that changes that. Can we go on the record and say that? Okay.
Yes.
So I'm just going to say it again. There's nothing in the plan that loosens restrictions on short-term rentals in residential neighborhoods, residential zoning districts, residential category. Okay.
I think your earlier statement was more restrictive. Yeah, but I think we got it. But go ahead, Commissioner Weatherby, and then Commissioner Dish.
I mean, I think this is where we get into the residential, though, because like that would mean like all R categories now. That is true, but many of those R categories will not be residential in the future. They will be transition.
Which is what Mr. Leonard is saying makes it more complex to figure out, but there's nothing in here that loosens those restrictions currently. We don't say that they're going to be allowed in transition.
Fair.
We just say, in transition, we're going to need to figure it out, and it's going to be complex.
But
So we are going to have to figure out a mechanism to regulate short-term rentals in transition. Yeah.
Can I, before we hear from Councilmember Dish, with your permission? Okay. Can we all take a look at page 129, look at the future land use residential? If all of these go in, then, and people don't understand that residential now includes all of these plus the R districts, then the statement that short-term rentals will not be permitted in residential, I don't know, is going to be.
That wasn't, I didn't say that. I said there's nothing in the plan that loosens restrictions. Okay.
Yep, and so this goes to the point, which is there is confusion because for the majority of people reading residential, they're reading it as the R1 districts and the R1 districts alone. But this plan envisions that it will include things like C1, C2, PUDs. There's some R4, some R2, some R3 in there. And those districts, some of those districts, unless Mr. Leonard corrects me, it is possible that like a PUD could have a short-term rental in it, unless it was restricted in the PUD. And if that now gets subsumed into this residential category, then for somebody, they're going to say this plan permitted something that the previous plan prohibited.
I 100% agree with that, but I just also want to clarify, again, the plan doesn't change anything in that regard. Plan unit developments are a tool that can apply anywhere in the city, so.
We know that. All right, Councilmember Dish.
So I don't want us to dwell on this, so I will try to be really succinct. I think the transition category is the category that's posing the problem, because what our rule is now is that you cannot have a non-owner occupied STR in residential. That is the thing that will not necessarily change, as you were saying, Commissioner Abrams. The issue with transition is that you could have non-owner occupied STRs there. And so that's what needs to be thought about. And that's that.
Back to you, Commissioner Nord.
I can tell you through work that I do with the Michigan Association of Planning on state legislative reform, there are folks out there who are arguing they are arguing forcefully that the state should actually prohibit local governments from banning STRs, because a fundamental private property right is to use your property however you want to use it, and if you want to rent it out on a short-term basis, you ought to be allowed to do so. So I've got to believe there are folks in the city of Ann Arbor who believe in that strongly, and banning STRs would not be uniformly popular. It's a complex issue. That's the first statement I'll make. The second is people don't like them for two reasons, I think, on a broad brush scale. One is that they tend to invite activities by folks who come into a neighborhood who don't live there and aren't so concerned about being quiet and respectful to neighbors, and it's a constant source of disruption. And I know that we are pointing to nuisance laws as a way to deal with those issues, but that's not an unreal concern about the disruption they cause. That's distinct from the other concern, which is we're trying everything we can to put more housing on the market, and STRs have a distinct effect of taking them off the market for long-term residential uses. All of which is to say this is a complex problem. I will say, if we are now, nowhere in the plan does it clarify that STRs are not currently allowed in residential districts, by which I take that to mean zoning districts prohibit STRs.
No, it's non-owner occupied ones, right? So they're not categorically banned even in residential.
Even in residential.
Right.
So there's a little bit of lack of clarity about what's currently allowed where, and how does that play into what we're going to be thinking about moving forward. It might be nice to add a statement, probably in the background section. Now I'm looking at Planner Bennett. Where it mentions short-term rentals, I think let's see if I can find it again.
It's on page 15, the context about short-term rentals.
The context.
Yep, that's page 15.
It might be nice to add just a few more statements about what's currently allowed by way of short-term rentals to provide that clarification. And I will point out, it's a fair reading to say, well, here's what you can and can't do in a residential district now. Some of these residential districts we're calling for to be labeled as transition. That sure looks like you're saying you're not going to allow short-term rentals. I'm actually comfortable with where the plan landed in terms of this is a really complex issue, and we are saying we need to deal with it, kind of like we're doing with a lot of things where there's a time and a place to deal with these complex issues. This plan is taking a higher altitude goal-setting approach, knowing that there will be difficult issues we need to grapple with, and I think short-term rentals is going to be one of them. I understand the residents' frustration that we're not nailing this thing down right now, but I don't think this is the right time or place to do that. So I guess I think it's really helpful actually to have all of this discussion on the record so that folks can see we are grappling with what's going on here and how are we dealing with it. It might be nice to add a little bit more factual statements about what's currently allowed and what's not, and then just double down on, we recognize this is a difficult issue, and we acknowledge that that's part of what we're going to have to talk about when we do this transition, pardon the double meaning, from the way things are to what our new categories and ultimately zoning districts are.
Okay. Planner Bennett.
I believe we had this discussion in November, and so it was requested that we add more factual statements then about short-term rentals. And we have here that on page 108 and 109, under new and diverse housing options, that we are going to add this paragraph that says, when we last updated short-term rentals, and that they take them off the market, and that we are going to look more into this policy. So this is sufficient? This is what was proposed and supported already in our last two meetings.
Yeah, I think I had asked for that, and I noticed that when I read this memo that's in front of us, and I thought it was terrific.
So maybe I'll just say, there's so much going on here. I'm having a hard time keeping track of what we've already dealt with, so we are kind of running in circles a little bit. So at the very least, maybe I just prompted us to remind folks, we've already talked about this, and we have a proposed revision that hopefully will satisfy some concerns.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Norton. Commissioner Weatherby.
I wasn't there.
Not to belabor this, but again, the in residential zones is, I think, confusing for people because, like, if their zone is going to transition, I just think this is where, and because around the university, certainly there is a lot of R4C, and there is a lot of, and so, which currently would have, because it's a residential zone, would have that, and I think there is a concern that would change in R4C, R2, whatever the other, and I think we just have to, we will have to address it, but I just think the terminology makes people concerned.
Thank you. Other comments for consideration? Commissioner Abrams.
This is just general, right? We're just going.
Yes, we are generally.
Okay.
Yep.
I wanted to hear more from Planner Bennett or Manager Leonard about OSI's response to Mr. Garber's suggestions for edit. In general, and then I could maybe ask some specific questions. But
yeah, I'll start. We did share those with OSI. They agreed with some of them. They didn't agree with some other ones. In the context of that conversation at the last meeting, what I heard from the commission was some, I guess, de-emphasizing the need to move forward with that. There was some specific dialogue with Mr. Garber that he was grateful to get his feedback onto the record. We did share those with OSI, and then I can let Michelle, I guess, address. I don't know, Michelle, if you have the detail of how much, but or if you were comfortable summarizing sort of overall what we heard back from OSI in response to those.
I couldn't give a great summary at the moment. I remember similarly to Brett, sorry, this all happened during the holidays and I've been off for the last few days, that they did review them. They provided us some comments. It's now back on us. And so I guess I can take any action that the Planning Commission wants from that of like, do you want us to share those comments with you or do you want us to add things to the plan? I guess I'll take your direction from there, but they have been reviewed by them, and it's really now on me to finish that.
Is it you or the Planning Commission?
Planning team. Well,
okay.
I mean,
yeah, I want to be clear again. Based on that dialogue, I didn't share those comments with you, so you don't have the benefit of those. So I don't think you're in a position where you can render those. If you'd like, we could make those changes. I want to be cognizant of changes. I still have some concerns about the labeling of districts. I really want to get this document to a point where you are comfortable and it's been familiar to you where you can make a vote on it. If you'd like, we're happy to incorporate the changes. We could report those out to you. And if you are uncomfortable with those at the time of adoption, would be your opportunity as discussed to modify them or not. I don't think that they were a significant policy. There were a lot of terminology and the like. So if you'd like, we could endeavor to incorporate the ones as recommended by OSI and then highlight those when it comes back to you for consideration.
So can I?
Just to make sure I understand.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to clarify because Mr. Garber said all of his comments were rejected, but you're saying there are some that were flagged that could be included.
Yeah, I don't have the summary. I think OSI agreed with some of the comments, not all of the comments. So.
Okay. All right.
But to Mr. Garber's point, I think he was speaking to, he got no feedback on those.
Sure, I can appreciate his point of view that he submitted and he got no feedback, but
No.
it sounds something different here.
It's more than that, though. In this edits compilation of commissioner comments, it actually specifically says
no recommendation.
rejected, basically.
Yeah, sure.
So it's not just that Mr. Garber didn't receive a personal email from anyone. It's actually in here. So if OSI does support some of these revisions, I would really love to know which ones and the rationale. It can be brief. It doesn't have to be lengthy. I mean, I have my opinion, but they actually are the experts, and so I value their expertise greatly. Maybe the other thing I'll just add quickly while I have the microphone is that
you have plenty of time.
Mr. Garber talks a lot in here about wetlands. So if that's something that we are noticing is absent from our plan, perhaps we could also look to the hard work that Mr. Garber put in to add those comments in here. And in particular, I think the ones that stand out to me is the rejection of carbon neutrality as a term, which is really different than eliminating emissions. So it seems like there are certain categories, right? There's a debate around the use of the term resilience, so that might be something OSI does not support, and that would wipe out a significant chunk of these comments. And then there's a bucket that are about carbon neutrality as a term that I think would be worth chasing down.
So is the specific ask from you, Commissioner Abrams, what Planner Bennett has captured on her document, which is you would like CPC to...
As long as that doesn't foreclose, as long as it doesn't put us in a position where we can't actually discuss it because we're up against this kind of final draft deadline. So maybe what I wish is that we had those in hand tonight. I know we don't.
Okay.
I would value other people's input about what they think the best way to proceed is. We could just make our comments and see if those dovetail with OSI's, or we could wait to see what OSI said.
I think if you want to make a recommendation, that would be helpful. I mean, I'm open to your recommendation that sort of dovetails with Manager Leonard's, which was to include the ones that could be included and then present those back with the next revision. Because this is going to the consultants this week. So if we are going to have them be included, my recommendation would be to ask staff to include the comments that can be included and then submit this with the proposal to the consultants so that we don't have to review it first, and then that delays the feedback from the consultants. But it would include Mr. Garber's comments, and then our fourth revision will have it in, and we will see them. And if we want to strike them, change them, edit them, that would be the time that we do it. Is there concurrence at the table?
I don't. So so I'm clear, if staff supported the deletion of the text, for example, requiring any individual housing development project meet 100% of each and every metric, increases the cost of construction, making it cost prohibitive to build or making the resulting housing more expensive. I, for one, agree with that sentiment and don't want it struck. If they support it, are they going to slip it into my final draft? And then I'm sort of in a bad spot. I mean, we've had...
No, you are not. You are being exactly as you should be.
I just feel like we've been sitting on these comments now for 6 weeks, and if folks feel strongly about including some of them, let's include them. Let's vote on it. But if we don't, if we're not prepared to do that, then we got to move on. If OSI didn't feel strongly, they saw it, didn't they? If
They
they
did.
didn't come back around and say, we want these in or we want these out, I'm not sure what we're doing here.
Commissioner Abrams.
All right, I'll make.
I'm
No,
being.
We're good. I'll make some proposals.
you're
I wasn't
fine.
here on the
You're fine.
16th, so I missed that meeting.
No, I'm being a little bit prickly, but I
don't think you're being prickly.
If folks feel strongly about some of these, let's make the edits, but if we don't, then let's move on.
Okay. Comment number 11, page 84, goal 11. The proposal is to change promote carbon neutrality through efficient energy and resource uses to reduce and ultimately eliminate emissions through the phasing out of fossil fuels and their replacement with renewable energy. I propose we make that change.
All right. Is there support?
It's right here.
It's so on page 84, goal 11, and this is Mr. Garber's comment number 11. The spreadsheet.
It's on the spreadsheet from last time. So the one dated 12/11.
Yeah, so it's changing the goal itself from saying promote carbon neutrality through efficient energy and resource use. The proposal is to change it to reduce and ultimately eliminate emissions through the phasing out of fossil fuels and their replacement with renewable energy.
I think I agree with your proposal. I think it's clearer than carbon neutrality.
Let's just go down. Oh, Commissioner Adams is in. Let's just start with Commissioner Norton.
Could you start?
We'll start with Commissioner Lee.
I'm still looking at that.
We'll start with Commissioner Mills.
I would say I like that. And this is where if we do have comments on that specific one from OSI that are to the contrary, that there's a reason that this is not a good idea, like I'd like to hear
OSI
that.
supported comment 11.
Great.
Super, awesome, yay,
All right.
done.
Good job.
They support comment 17. Which is also about carbon neutrality, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
He's just asking for more precise.
Yeah.
That's fine.
All right. It looks like Commissioner Norton's in.
I'm working here with Commissioner Adams.
It's
Help me
fine.
out. So
We are making changes at
she's going to
at this phase. Mr. Leonard is looking up whether or not OSI supported comment 17.
I appreciate that, thank you.
All right. Commissioner Weatherby, are you?
Didn't have any comment positive or negative on it.
Great. So that could be support.
Would you like me to make that proposal, or are we still back at the first one?
I think we need to just do it all now. So
But did you
keep
get
going.
Did you get a good vibe on?
This side of the table is in agreement with
Okay.
me, so we have 5 affirmative votes. But I do not want to ignore the 4, actually we have 6 affirmative votes because Hammerschmidt has already weighed in
I
as
mean,
yes.
if OSI has approved that one, then
Yep.
I'm good with it.
Great.
I don't have the background
Now
to be
we're-
able to do it.
Okay,
We're at 7.
please move to page 102. Goal.
Well, we'll pause. Commissioners Lee and Dish, do you want to weigh in before we go to the next one?
Can you
Okay.
just read that language one more time for
Sure,
me? Just 'cause
absolutely.
I've been unable to find that file, so.
You want to do it? or want me to do
You
it?
should do it.
Okay, I'll do it. So right now, Commissioner Lee, it says promote carbon neutrality through efficient energy and resource use.
Yep.
The proposal is to change it to say reduce and ultimately eliminate emissions through the phasing out of fossil fuels and their replacement with renewable energy.
Okay.
The rationale here being that carbon neutrality can be achieved with carbon credits, right? Or like other manipulations, carbon offsets, renewable energy credits, as opposed to the goal being to actually reduce and ultimately eliminate emissions.
Okay.
Period.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, it looks like there's unanimous support for comment number 11. Now we're moving on to comment number 17, where there was no OSI comment positively or negatively.
And it follows the same logic. So on page 102, goal 11 currently says promote carbon neutrality through efficient energy and resource use. And the proposal is to say promote emissions elimination through efficient energy resource and resource use. Efficient energy and resource use. So instead of saying promote carbon neutrality, we would say promote emissions elimination.
Okay. Looks like we have 2 support. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Can you all, just so I can keep track, say like the number of the comments? So I have comment 11 was supported. I think it was comment 17.
You have it correct.
Yep. We're discussing
so what was
17.
this one we just said?
No,
That
we're
was
17.
comment 17. We have it. We've only done 2.
okay.
You are right on track.
Okay.
That's it.
Oh, did you get everybody's opinion on that one? Okay.
Everybody weighed in, yes.
Okay.
I mean, Commissioner Dish didn't. She's still reading.
Okay. So then in the implementation, so this is Mr. Garber's comment number 28. That's for you, Michelle. In the implementation matrix, there are a couple of mentions on under goal 11 of carbon neutrality. And again, we would replace that with promoting emissions elimination as opposed to promoting carbon neutrality. So the bottom of 154, goal 11, and then the top of 156. It's basically just repeating the same goal in the implementation matrix from the document, from the plan.
Yeah, so I guess something that is probably obvious, but I'm going to say it anyway, is that it's also repeated when the goal is repeated and not just on that main page. You know what I mean? So like page, whatever that first page was, 80 something, it was in like the summary of like all the goals. But then you jump down where it explains goal 11, we'd have to change the header there too.
Got it. So,
and in the implementation.
Let's pause so that we can make sure that Planner Bennett got Commissioner Hammersmith's comment. Can you make it again, please?
Yes. So the page numbers that we've been talking about, like page 84, where it says goal 11 is to promote carbon neutrality, and then we just discussed changing that. Goal 11, I believe, also appears on page 102 in the big green box. So we would need to make sure that that's changed, and then also when it's repeated in the implementation matrix. Yeah, no, that's my example.
Yep.
I mean,
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yes, you can.
So we want to change this terminology, but OSI's plan is called carbon neutral, like the carbon neutrality plan. So I think that's the terminology we've been using to align with that. So now this language would sort of supersede even the goals of OSI, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yeah, because that's the A20 Living Carbon Neutrality Plan.
Right, but we don't control that plan.
But we are meant to align with all of these plans. I guess I'm just raising that as so this is asking us to go farther than what OSI is willing to say.
But they supported comment 11 though, which is the same thing. All of these are saying the same thing, just in different places in the plan, I believe.
Okay. Yep, Commissioner Dish.
I think Planner Bennett's comment is well taken, that and I think Commissioner Weatherby, the A20 plan is a carbon neutrality plan. However, in feedback that we've been getting from OSI, the emphasis has been on decarbonization when they look at projects that we're looking at. So I don't really know which way to turn that. And my feeling is if a comment doesn't have the support of OSI, I would be reluctant to go for it.
Yeah, we haven't considered anything that they did not have the support of.
Well,
they just
17, they didn't give a
They didn't say
They didn't
anything.
say no. Yeah.
They didn't say yes either.
That's right. Exactly. They didn't say yes, they didn't say no. So I
we
don't know
took that
if-
as a yes.
Is there support? Is there it's tacit consent? It's the state of nature.
I mean, we have already submitted, just so you know, here, there were 8 affirmative votes while you were reading on comment number 17. Not that you stopping us now to making your comment doesn't mean we can't reconsider it. Okay. It looks like we've made 3 changes, comment 11, comment 17, comment 28, and Commissioner Hammerschmidt pointed out page 84, goal 11, and page 102 in the green boxes to align with these changes.
And those are actually the same text. So comment 11 and comment 17 are the same.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense why, I mean, maybe OSI did not comment on comment 17 because it's the exact same thing as comment 11.
Which they supported. Great.
Yes.
That even further evidence of support.
Perfect.
Anything else, Commissioner Abrams?
I'm stalling.
You don't have to stall. Does anyone else have a comment while Commissioner Abrams continues to read? Okay. We will wait for you. Oh, Commissioner Lee.
Planner Bennett, this is just going back to the somewhat immaterial comment about the map change. I just want to make sure that the wording reflects what we were talking about earlier. If you want to go up, just regarding Ann Arbor Golf and Outing. I don't think shouldn't golf and outing be called out on the timeline. It's just updating its historical accuracy. The color on the map. So I'm not asking for it to be called out on a timeline or anything. It's just accurately reflecting. So, and not called out on the map, but just accurately reflected.
Okay, I think the original question was about the timeline, but we've changed it now. So it's shouldn't golf and outing be accurately reflected. Okay, is that correct?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, sure.
Hopefully that bought enough time for Commissioner.
It did, thank you.
All right, Commissioner Abrams.
So I think my hesitation is that the 2 other buckets, large buckets of comments I see are 1, a critique of the use of resilience planning and a proposal to replace that with something more focused on disaster preparedness. But I watched the 5-hour recording of the December 16th meeting, which I missed, and there was a conversation there or a comment there that maybe OSI was committed to the term resilience. So I am reluctant to propose anything that OSI is opposed to, but because we don't know that, it makes it a little bit difficult. So I would just say, if there's anything, sorry, and then the other bucket is the critique of the circular economy and more emphasis on just reducing consumption as opposed to just circulating the things we consume. So I would say if to Mr. Leonard and Planner Bennett, sorry, I'm tripping over my words. If there are other things that OSI supported, I would be in support of those, I think. But to Commissioner Adams' comment, it's hard to know without knowing what those things are, right? I think. So I don't really know what to do. I'm sorry.
Well, I think we've done what we can.
Okay.
So, without objection.
I can add one thing.
Sure.
They're moving forward with a circular economy action plan right now, so I do think that they are doubling down and agree with that approach. So, Brett, I don't know if you have the comment in front of you. We can check and see how they feel about the comments that Mr. Garber made, but I know that they are proceeding. I'm on their steering committee reviewing their circular economy plan as we go.
Yeah, they were, these comments are of the mind that the language as in the plan is appropriate, referencing the circular economy. So, Michelle's right. They would not recommend changes. Just a couple other comments that they did agree with, and one is referencing wetlands, which you've already addressed. Another one is advocacy for more landmark tree protection. And this has been something that has been part of the tension about this plan, right, is the balance of all the goals. So I would just say that from OSI's perspective, protecting more trees would advance those sustainability goals. Those might be contrary to density affordability goals. So that's why you get paid the big bucks.
Oh, Commissioner Dish.
Yeah, and that's one that we've been around and around on, and we have strengthened the language in the plan to specify that we believe that there are robust protections in place, and that we also believe that we should be looking at key species. And I feel like we've done that, and I feel good about it. And the way the plan is being characterized, I think, is not fair. And I'm happy with where we are personally. Others may have other feelings about it.
I agree.
Okay. Commissioner Abrams.
Okay, one more. This might be unpopular, but I think the one other comment then of Mr. Garber's that I would like to pick up is comment number 3, which proposes that we add something about sustainability under the Ann Arbor Today section. So currently, that section, which begins on page 14 of the plan, talks about population, housing, amenities, commuting patterns, tax revenue, the economy. It feels like an oversight to me that we don't talk about sustainability there. Mr. Garber has provided some language, proposed language we could use to just describe the status of, that could be where we talk about the carbon neutrality plan, I guess. But I think it might be worth calling it out there.
So what is the proposal?
The proposal would be that somewhere in the Ann Arbor Today section, we add a paragraph under a new title called Sustainability, and that staff and the consultants look at Mr. Garber's proposed language for appropriateness and factual correctness.
Okay.
I don't support Mr. Garber's language.
I don't either.
Okay.
Which comment?
This is comment 3. I don't support the claim that growth undermines the city's climate goals if new buildings rely on fossil gas for heat. I don't agree with that. I don't think that's supported, and it's vague. And so, I don't want to make this change.
And
okay, good. Councilmember Dish.
I think another part of it that I would not support is because the city did not yet include emissions from personal consumption, including goods purchases and air travel, blah, 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 or for much of the supply chain. Those are really hard to measure. And the reason, the OSI has been explicit about why the plan does not cover those. And so I don't want to, I think that's contrary to decisions that staff have made about how they're going to get the baseline for Ann Arbor's emissions.
Okay. Commissioner Norton and/or Mills. No support from Commissioner Mills.
Is there
no support for
just
Commissioner
adding
Norton.
something about sustainability that's not this language?
I think I would support that, and my reasoning would be because Ann Arbor really is a leader in, with all of the stuff that OSI is doing. We're doing stuff before a lot of other cities in the country, and I think that that's very noteworthy. If that's in here enough, then maybe that's enough.
But in tonight's edits, there's a paragraph on that.
Oh, well, great.
In tonight's edits. I know we're all, there's so much on the table.
I know, I'm tired, we're jumping around,
It's totally understandable. Oops, now I'm in the engage page. That's not what I was looking for. If anybody has the commissioner edits open, who could point us to the list of where the paragraph on the Bryant decarbonization project is.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Right, all that's in there. That's all been added. Sorry.
Added where? Screen, I'm bringing it up.
Okay.
So this is the climate millage language that we're adding, and this is the Bryant neighborhood that we're adding, and this was all reviewed and approved by OSI.
And where are we adding that? I'm sorry.
Let me see the page number here. Oops.
Is that too far into the document to be, do you, Commissioner Abrams, do you think that, or is your position that we should be calling something out earlier? Because
Or is it the like data around sustainability, like positioning the city like the rest of the Ann Arbor Today stuff sort of is? Or should we just drop this?
It's page 88.
I don't sense enough support at the table for me to continue pressing it.
Any other edits or changes from commissioners? Commissioner
So can I
Mills.
clarify comment 30 with adding language to Ann Arbor to today is not supported?
That's correct.
But it was comment 3, not 30.
Not 30.
Right.
Thank you.
Yep. And my question was just, I agree that I think that there's a number of reasons why OSI wouldn't support this, but I'm curious. So I'm curious if they had anything, because I could see a benefit in including, for example, in our plan, like our greenhouse gas inventory, the most recent, I think that it might be in keeping with some of the other trends and data that we have, but I don't know if they made any comments to that effect.
So their comment mirrored the conversation here at the table. They didn't recommend the inclusion of that paragraph in its entirety, perhaps because of the measurability concern. If anything is to be included, they recommended it be limited to basically the last sentence that highlights the role buildings have in our commissions, that they comprise approximately 2/3. But it wasn't strong. It wasn't strongly recommended. But I'm trying to interpret their comments on this. But the way I interpret this is they would be sort of okay with the last paragraph. I don't think that they're recommending that it needs to be included.
Okay. Because the plan is largely about our built environment and so many of our emissions come from our existing housing stock, I do think that is a useful, like including that would be helpful information. It sounds like that part is supported. I might propose, in keeping with what, and that can be shot down, that we see if others think that would be useful as well, to ask OSI to draft some language to go and like, what would you want as the sustainability baseline? This is the snapshot in time of today, in keeping with the other kinds of things that are there.
So can I clarify just a second, which is you're asking OSI to propose language that we won't see until after the 4th draft comes back?
I think that there's a number of places where we effectively suggest to staff, like, sort it out. But I guess I'm asking you all first. We don't have language right now to look at. If it sounds like they agree that if something should go in here, it should be about the built environment element. And so I think that would be something useful to include in here in this particular section, because if we think we have population trends, we have housing trends, we have commuting trends, but the fact that this is a sustainability plan and we don't talk about our emissions, especially from our built environment, it feels like a missed opportunity. And so if others support it, we can then cut it back out if we don't like it. But anyway.
Well, okay. I'm just confused because there's a suggestion that seems to be that we use the last paragraph that begins with "the plan addresses the housing gap."
No, I'm sorry. The last sentence, just focusing on the emissions of the building stock in the city.
Buildings in 2024. Sarah's suggesting that OSI.
Oh, wait. No, I still, first of all, this is like, it's 4-point font, and I can't read it.
So the portion, I guess the portion that OSI wasn't concerned about is buildings in 2024 accounted for roughly 2/3 of community emissions and transportation 1/3.
Okay.
Building emissions were split between direct emissions, mostly from fossil gas consumption, and electricity from the fossil fuel origin of much of our purchased electricity.
The last sentence of the first paragraph.
I'm
Got
sorry,
it.
I'm
No, I'm sorry. It's,
And
yeah.
I just want to, when we're talking about inventory, I just want to also remind the commission, the city has a whole dedicated dashboard to our inventory. So I would suggest that there might be those in the community who don't think that the city is measuring it, but I can assure you the city puts a lot of resources into inventorying greenhouse gas emissions. I honestly don't know that this plan, or you making that decision at this table, is potentially going to enhance the work that OSI is doing in that regard. It's pretty robust already. So I just want to be clear, whether or not language is included in this plan or not, the city regularly inventories greenhouse gas emission towards metrics and reporting on the living carbon neutrality plan.
Agreed, and that's why it feels like there's not tons of work to pull it together, because it already exists somewhere, and it's important context for our document on sustainability.
What about just the sentence that you're talking about and that Mr. Leonard read with a link to the dashboard?
I think that could work.
I think that would be fine.
It's like a little vignette.
And that would be supported by me at the table as opposed to waiting for OSI to send something back. All right, let's see. We have 1, 2, 3,
Michelle, are you
4,
clear on that?
5. We have enough support with 5 commissioners, but I do want to make sure I hear from everyone. Commissioner Nord.
I was waiting to see what Planner Bennett was going to say.
Okay.
I'm just clarifying that I have add to Ann Arbor today the last sentence from Mr. Garber's comment 3 language.
First paragraph, from the first paragraph.
From the first paragraph. The last sentence from the first paragraph, and then a link to the dashboard.
Okay.
Great. Commissioner Norton?
We've already made clear that this plan is working in parallel with the A20 plan, right? So
Yes.
This is a way to draw a link. You're basically adding some language in a pointer to say, oh, look here, we're doing this work here. I'm okay with that.
All right, that's 6 affirmative votes.
Where are we? Is there just one sentence that's getting added into Ann Arbor today? Where? And I want to make sure that this language is like, there's like a citation. Is this Ann Arbor data or is it national data?
So you're asking a different question?
I'm just asking it to be fact checked if it goes in.
Okay, great. Planner
But also,
Bennett,
where does it go?
Did you grasp Commissioner Hammerschmidt's comment?
You want me to ask this question to OSI?
Yeah, I mean,
Fact check it.
fact check it if they could.
So there's support at the table
okay.
if they could just fact check it, and if it's not factual.
Make it factual? Change the percentages.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's
And if it's for Ann Arbor or if it's national, clarify that.
whether it's
like what are we talking?
for Ann Arbor
Taking the
or
sentence out of context is strange to me.
You're fine. So that would take us to 7 affirmative votes. We didn't hear from Commissioner Adams. Okay. Commissioner Lee and Weatherby. Okay, that's 8. That's 9. It is supported. Any other comments? All right, well, thank you, Commission. You have done an incredible job of taking your responsibility serious to review this plan right down to the last sentence, as we have included here. And I appreciate our discussion. I appreciate our back and forth. And I want to check in with Planner Bennett to make sure that you feel that you have what you need to pass this on to the consultants this week, and that our expectations are that we will receive a 4th draft, and assuming Well, we'll receive a fourth draft, and planning staff has scheduled a meeting for us to review that on February 18th, which is the Wednesday after, I think, the President's Day weekend. So our meeting has been moved from the normal Tuesday to a Wednesday to accommodate that holiday. Is that everybody's understanding? We do not have anything that we have asked for that we won't, that we're waiting to get back. So we rejected all of the changes that we would be accepting blind, and we've made those changes ourselves to the table, at the table tonight. So I think that's correct. And then I'll get to you. Sorry, Mr. Leonard. Is that everybody's understanding? Yes. Is everybody comfortable with where we are right now? Does anyone have any questions for Planner Bennett? Okay, Mr. Leonard.
I wanted to augment that to make sure that our staff and commissioner of the shared understanding that will be presented to you as the comprehensive plan. That meeting will be scheduling a public hearing. On your agenda will be potential adoption of that plan.
Language to accept and move forward.
Yeah, so I just want to be clear when you're talking about draft 4.
Well, I wanted to say that, but I was concerned that if I said the final draft, somebody would say, but wait.
That's the intention of the 18th meeting, is that the product that is before you incorporates these changes that you have spent a lot of time on. I appreciate that time because it helps us communicate effectively to what you're looking for.
Sure.
That will be given back to you as your
final draft.
Yep.
Okay.
The approval draft.
Yep.
Excuse me, the approval draft. That is a great language. Look at you, Commissioner Adams.
It's all that value I provide.
Hold on. We'll start with Commissioner Abrams and then Commissioner Mills. You all are fun.
I wondered, Planner Bennett, if you have a sense of whether we would receive that approval draft any earlier than the Friday before the meeting, because it's a holiday weekend. There's a public school break. People like myself are traveling, and I just want to make sure I have enough time to review it.
I think that was the intention, was that it will take them most of January, but that we would like to have the draft out like with a week or two prior to the first public hearing.
Okay, that would be great. I think
the more time that we can,
the more the better, but
recognize.
maybe a minimum of a week, please. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Mills, and then I'm just going to check in with you one more time, Commissioner Norton, so don't be surprised.
I just wanted to clarify that this is the adoption draft, but we are asking the consultants if they have any better title for residential, right?
That is correct, and if they do, it will show up in the approval draft. Submit it by them.
Okay.
All right, great, thank you. Commissioner Norton, before I go to Mr. Leonard, who's going to try to change what I just said. Okay, you were when Mr. Leonard was saying that this is proposing to be the final draft, I thought you were noodling on something, and I just wanted to give you a moment to share that in case you did have it.
Ideally, we should be looking for Scrivener's errors, but
okay.
I will tell you, I'll just say, even the confusion that I brought up tonight over STRs, there's so many moving parts to this.
Of course.
And it's become so difficult to tell what we've talked about and what we've accepted and what we're moving forward. And I'm kind of in awe of Planner Bennett, who's somehow keeping all of this straight in her brain. So kudos to you for
and
that.
in a document.
And to the document. So I'm expecting that it will be approval draft and we're just looking for Scrivener's errors, but I don't want to say it's for sure that we're not going to see something, oh my gosh, how did that happen?
Sure. I think that was Commissioner Adams' point, was he doesn't want anything snuck into his draft so that it's a clean draft so he can vote on it on the 18th.
I will be reading it with that in mind when I read the approval draft.
Absolutely. Mr. Leonard.
To Commissioner Mills' comment, I just want to be honest with the title of that district. Unless it's really, really good, I'm going to be concerned about something being presented to you at the time of adoption.
Sure.
So,
and we've given that to staff, so we'll know that. At least Commissioner Weatherby and I will.
And I think I'm going to miss that meeting. So.
Oh, you're going to miss that meeting. I'm sorry. Is that your? Oh, I don't want to put your business on the internet. All right. Okay. Well, thank you, Planner Bennett. Appreciate your leadership. Just echoing what Commissioner Norton has already said. Thank you for maintaining this document and helping us through this process. Any final words from you to us?
Been my pleasure.
Excellent. Thank you. That takes us on to our calendar discussion, which is 11B, other business. We need to discuss potential cancellations of an upcoming work session and the timing of the first February meeting. Manager Leonard has a presentation.
I have words. So we didn't make this decision at the manager report because I wanted to see if there's anything we needed to follow up on after this meeting. I don't hear it, so I propose that we cancel the work session. And then the question is on the 2 February meetings. You will note, I don't know if you recall, when we adopted the schedule, we weren't sure which of those meetings this comp plan might be scheduled for a public hearing. Now that it's looking at the 18th, I'd like to keep that as a 5 o'clock, but I wanted to pose the question to the commission if you would like to
5:30?
Yes.
5:30, thank you.
If you'd like to maintain that time for the first February meeting, which we have a couple of business items, or if you'd like to amend the schedule to the first February meeting to be your normal 7 o'clock time. If that's your desire, please make a quick motion.
Is it currently a 5 o'clock meeting? Okay, so we need, this is 5:30, so we need to amend that. So I would entertain a motion to amend to 7 p.m. Moved by Commissioner Lee, seconded by Commissioner Norton. We're in discussion about that. Is there any? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It has been approved.
I'm sorry, who seconded that?
Commissioner Norton.
Thank you. That's all.
Next week's work session is the one that is canceled?
Yeah, although you and I can cancel that if the board's in agreement.
Okay, great. Anything else here? That takes us to item number 12, public comment, and this is on any individual, any issue, and it can be made by any individual. This is a second opportunity for individuals to speak up to 3 minutes on any issue. We'll first hear from those that are present in the chambers, then remote participants. To speak remotely, press star 9 if on phone, or use the raise hand feature for Zoom. For phone access, dial 877-853-5247 and enter meeting ID 977-6634-1226. City staff will identify callers by the last 3 digits of their phone number or by name if they're on Zoom. You'll hear an announcement when it's your turn to speak. Please move to a quiet area and mute any background noise. For all participants, please state your name and address at the beginning of your comments. Is there anyone present in chambers who would like to address us at this time? There's just 2 of you.
Thanks, Commissioner Weiss, Ken Garber, 28 Haverhill Court. I'm impressed with both your stamina and how thick your skin is. You guys take a lot of heat, including tonight, including from me, and you really deal with it with a lot of poise and professionalism. So I give you a lot of credit. I'm very gratified that you took my comments seriously and gave them extensive discussion. So thank you for that, especially Commissioners Abrams and Mills. It's really important, I think, that you put language on emissions elimination into the plan. Yes, carbon neutrality is the city's A20 goal, but that's a 2030 goal. This is a plan for 2050. And just to put it into global context, our latest carbon budgets show that we have 120 gigatons CO2 left to emit before we hit likely 1.5 degrees Celsius global heating over pre-industrial levels, which was the limit set by the IPCC back in 2018 for basically moving forward safely with a climate and an environment. And we're going to blow through we're using 40 gigatons a year, and so we're going to blow through the 1.5 degree target finally by 2029. That's a foregone conclusion. People now accept that as a fact. And CO2, once emitted, stays in the atmosphere for centuries, sometimes much of it for millennia. So we really have to set elimination as the target. And you've done that tonight in this plan. I think that's critical. It's really important. So thank you for that. As to the rest of it, many of my comments I knew would not be accepted by OSI, but I felt it was important to present a different point of view than staff's. And I think there's respectful disagreement there, and I hope we can continue that conversation. But for the moment, congratulations on how far you've come with this. And again, I'm very gratified that you made the changes you did tonight. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Garber. Mr. Leonard, do we have any remote participants who would like to address the commission?
You do. John Simpkins, you have 3 minutes to address the Planning Commission.
Thank you so much. My name is John Simpkins. This is my first Planning Commission meeting. I really appreciate all the work that goes into this. It's been eye-opening. I'm a board member of the Brentwood Square Condominium Association. We're zoned R4B, classified in the existing zoning framework as a multiple family dwelling in the residential district category. We are the missing middle, a dense development of 80 units across 7 buildings with market prices well south of the city average, and our community's residents are almost exactly evenly distributed between renters and co-owners. Personally speaking, I wish there were more communities in the city like ours. I feel fortunate to have made it into this one, as the odds of success are statistically not great. I have followed the planning process for the strategic plan and noted our residential designation in drafts 1 and 2, and was surprised to find our designation changed, along with a very small number of other parcels, to a toss-up status. I believe this injects uncertainty into our future as an association, simultaneously erasing the defining characteristics of our association's built form and residential use, high-density townhome and row home structures, without commingled commercial purpose, adjacent to and integrating parkland. As the association approaches 30 years old, we're contemplating substantial property investments to support electrification and rapidly growing EV ownership. We're interested in piloting community scale infrastructure with the city's sustainable energy utility. We secured in 2025 a build out of fiber optic networking to each unit, and we're working on strategic long-term cost mitigation and climate adaptation efforts to continue delivering affordable, sustainable units. I'm concerned that we cannot plan with certainty if the way our association's property is fundamentally classified is ambiguous, or potentially worse, mismatched with the fundamental features of our community and its surroundings. There are a number of characteristics laid out in the document that define residential versus transition, and as a townhome and row home development with, to quote the language of the plan, adequate depth and access, we fit the definition of the residential category as documented unambiguously. I believe that it's inappropriate to pressure our property with a designation that includes, again quoting plan language, commercial and industrial employment uses, and strengthens commercial activity along key corridors and nodes. I'm further concerned that the ability to develop density as substantial as what our association achieves today without the features inherent to the transition district is eliminated by taking residential higher density developments out of the residential category. In my view, it perversely entrenches low-rise concepts in these areas when we provide a great example of a development that does better from a density perspective. So again, TLDR, I'm really concerned about being placed in a toss-up status. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Simpkins.
No other hands are raised.
Great. I will close the public comment and ask if there's any commission proposed business. Seeing none. Oh, man.
No, just a quick question. Sorry, clarification. I wasn't quick enough to do it earlier. The working session that we're canceling is next week, January 13th, or the February one?
January.
Thank you.
Is there any other commission proposed business? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion for adjournment, moved by Commissioner Mills, seconded by Commissioner Abrams. We are adjourned. Wait, we're supposed to vote. All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Now we are adjourned.